Okay, I got the red smoke.
Gun runs north to south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke.
Okay, copy. West of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now.
Come on with it, baby. Give it to me. I need it. You're cleared hot.
Copy, cleared hot.
Evan, the founder, is he's one of my best friends. Every time I see him, he'll grind stuff up and they do cupping.
Oh yeah.
And he has this huge wheel of all these slices of flavors, and he's asking me, he's like, do you taste the orange? I'm like,
Yeah.
I just started saying yes. So
right.
So he leaves
Yeah.
me alone. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess I taste the orange a
coffee.
little bit.
You like it or you don't like it. And I lived in Guatemala for a little while, and everything was like all about the roasting and the beans. I'm like, it's good.
I drink for effect.
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
taste.
exactly. Yeah,
In
it's
the
a drug.
morning, I'm not having a coffee because I'm a fan of what
Yeah.
it tastes like. I need to transition from my night slumber to
Yeah.
my morning productive
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I say that about anything that's it's like it's a drug.
Yeah. No, it definitely is.
Not drinking decaf.
So I was telling you at the coffee shop, of course, had to do research last night. My wife had not heard of the Greyman.
Okay.
Not that necessarily, and actually she loves audiobooks. After I was explaining that you were coming on the show, she actually started looking up your audiobook series before we started watching the show.
Oh, terrific.
She was like, oh, okay, I can get into this.
Yeah.
It's a very weird Venn diagram of what she likes. She likes vampire, historic stuff, which I don't know if you know that genre exists.
I know it exists. Yeah, sure.
And she likes the espionage spy thriller stuff.
That's great.
It's weird.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that overlaps and a lot that's really different in that.
Right. Yeah.
So we hit play, we sit down. I think she missed maybe like the first 15 minutes or so before the antagonist comes in.
Yeah.
Her first thing she says, why is Captain America being mean? Second thing was, why does Captain America have a mustache?
Yeah. She's waiting for him to pull the mustache off and be the hero, right?
Like I was telling you at the store, I don't know if there could be a more typecast person now. I think he did just fine. I think he's going to be okay wherever he lands. There might be some $100 bills in a safe. But it was jarring for her. I don't know if she ever got over it. She said it multiple times as we watched.
Yeah. She just couldn't get over the fact he was the villain.
All she sees is Captain America.
Right.
Which, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
An iconic role, and then now he's going to be doing that in the Doomsday movie. So
Yeah.
I bet the check on that didn't suck.
No, I think he's doing okay. And
Do you think at that point, knowing that franchise is so successful, that they could almost ask for whatever they want?
Well, you always hear about how like Don Cheadle took over.
But that was early.
Yeah, that was pretty early.
That was from Iron Man 1 to 2.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the early days. But yeah, I wonder now if Chris Evans goes, you know what? Let me think about it. If that just makes the numbers go up, or
or like Thor.
baked in.
Hemsworth. He's done 4 or 5 Thors now. They want him to come back.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer saying he's getting ready to come back. Today's episode is brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee. Patriotism isn't a marketing trend for Black Rifle Coffee Company. It's the foundation of the company that Black Rifle Coffee Company has been built on since day one. Their American roasted coffee not only fuels your day, but gives back to veterans, first responders, and their families with every purchase. Last year, they eliminated medical debt, helped build homes, provided for natural disaster response teams, funded education for the children of fallen warriors, and so much more. So as America hits its 250th year, BRCC is kicking off 2026 with killer new products and the same great mission they've been on from the start. Grab a bag or box of Tactisquatch, Waken the Neighbors, or Spirit of 76. Roast for people who get up early, train hard, and don't quit. And to fuel the new year, they're dropping cold brew coffee, cans in just black and vanilla. No fluff, no excuses, just clean caffeine. Need something with even more horsepower? Grape X brings 200 milligrams of caffeine, 0 sugar, and a great blast that hits harder than a door charge. You can find it at Walmart, Target, Kroger, or blackriflecoffee.com. Black Rifle Coffee, veteran founded, American roasted. This is America's coffee. Yeah, I wonder how much. At some point, they're just going to say no. Right?
Yeah.
If it gets too big. But I wonder.
They'll get another Hemsworth.
But I wonder how many zeros that no would take.
Yeah. I think they're in the driver's seat.
I think they are too, for sure. I was watching a clip of you on Rogan talking about actually the show The Greyman. You're like, yeah, not exactly like how the book went.
Yeah.
But I loved your response. It's the best advertising for your novels because it gets eyes on your series.
Sure. Yeah. And it was incredibly successful for that. I mean, it was a $200 million movie. And
production-wise?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Or Netflix thing.
Yeah.
And what I like to say, and this is true, and I'm a very successful author. I've got 27 books. I've been on the Times list a couple dozen times, I guess. About 6 days before the movie came out, I was at a book signing in Chicago. There were 7 people there. 6 days later, 3 blocks of Hollywood Boulevard is blocked off. There are thousands of people there.
And the only delta in that was the movie coming out or being on Rogan.
Well, this was the movie. It was the difference between me putting a book out that was not a Greyman novel. And actually, I went to other cities and had big turnouts, just, that one particular turnout for whatever reason. It wasn't, and I'm sitting there going like, so you can not really ever sort of over exaggerate, what this can do to somebody's career. And it's been really helpful.
Did it in the end drive more people to purchase books as well too? Because it doesn't really matter, right? What their entry point is, as long as they find it and find their way back to your work.
Yeah.
Right?
I've always spent a lot of time with every book, making sure every one of my novels stands alone. So I've got 15 Greyman books. It's my 15th book. Yeah. And every one of them, you can pick up number 8 and then read number 3, then read number 11. If you do read them in order, there is a story arc that you can follow and enjoy. But if you don't have to. They all have their own legs. So I think I was on like book number 12 when the movie came out. It was called Sierra 6. And people, of course, picked that one up. But then you would see, you can look at your numbers.
Oh,
you can see number 1 really bumping. And then there's number 2 going and number 3.
What's going on here? I wonder how they found them.
We call that, like the long tail. And, when my first book came out, it was just the Greyman, just a little paperback. I didn't get a lot of money for it. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like anything people were really talking about. But people would email me and they're like, oh, I love this book. And I went to buy everything that you had written. And I realized you hadn't written anything else. And I just remember going like, damn, it's just like, I could have sold another book. And now, I've got 27 books. So it's nice to.
Damn, that's a volume. How do you have them stand alone without having at least some nature of it being repetitive? Not in the story, but don't you have to introduce and explain the main character over and over again?
Yes, and there's a shorthand that I try and change every single time. Yeah. Even in the sort of like the cast of characters at the beginning, I'll sort of refer to him as what you need to know about him in this particular book. Okay. Like here's his call sign with this group, or here's what they call him in this book, or he's just the Greyman or whatever. And I will, I really have it down to a couple of paragraphs that he...
Couple of paragraphs?
Yeah.
Wow.
That he had worked for the agency and for reasons he didn't understand, they turned against him. And now he's doing this thing with this other group, Yeah. And it's not... The history isn't a big part of most of the books. This book, I really... but what happens is you throw out these little nuggets as you're writing the series, and then you're on book 15 and you're going like... Well, let's explore that thing with his dad, or he was raised without a mom. I wonder what that would be like. So you do go back to those things, and then what I always tell people, and if you would understand this more than most just because of the life you've led. It's like when I wrote the first book, very very early in my career, when I hadn't worked with Clancy and I'd never been to the Pentagon, I'd never been to CIA, I didn't know anybody. You write things in the book that you're kind of stuck with, 15 books in, and you're
hard
talking
to change history.
Exactly. And you're talking about how like he's a former SAD guy who, when he was like 25, just all this sort of like jargony stuff that I didn't understand the way that I understand it a little bit more now.
Did you find those entities that the ones that you listed, you eventually got to work with, were they welcoming to you when you got the chance to go there? Were they kind of more arms open than holding you off at arm's distance?
No one's ever held me off. Individually, people have been great. And, it's just funny, all the people that will come up that have, really done stuff and talk to me and, they like appreciate the books. And then at the same time go like, yeah, this is silly, obviously.
It is a fictional book.
Yeah, exactly. But I know that too. Organizationally, there's been times have been a little bit harder. There's just a process you go through. A lot of times I will just back channel the information that I need. And, it's not, I don't need, official information about, what floor this office is on or whatever, so I'm not going to the Pentagon for that. I'm going to the Pentagon because I have a buddy and we're going to get lunch, and, he's going to introduce me to some people, I went to Nellis, and, I sat outside of the room when they had a classified, talk inside. I'm the only guy out in the hall.
That's how it goes.
But it's great. Yeah,
I've been there.
But it's great, and so everybody's been pretty welcoming. I remember I was writing a book about the cartels. It was the third Greyman book. And I was put in touch via somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody. And I talked to somebody who was very much involved in that, living down there.
From the cartel side?
No. American side? Yeah. Working in the government. And he was just like, I don't even want to talk to you, dude. It's like, I didn't want to be on the phone with you right now. And I'm like, I totally get that.
Yeah, that puts him in a risky spot.
Sure.
How is the food at the Pentagon? I've never been.
Oh, well, yeah, I think I ate Subway once. I think I ate Sbarro's once. It's like going anywhere else. Yeah.
The classic chains
Yeah.
that are on all DoD
Yeah.
establishments. That, for somebody out there, should be a research project on how those chains have the ability to be on bases.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Why are some allowed on and some are not?
Yeah, there's money involved in that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, the older I get, the more I'm coming to the realization that money may actually be the single motivating factor for almost everything that makes this rock spin.
I think you're probably right about that.
God, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Have any of those entities ever asked you, because it's a fiction book, so you're not required for any pre-publication review, right?
Correct.
Have you ever had somebody reach out and say, hey, I know you're writing about something and we would prefer you not leave this in the book?
No, not once. Now, I've definitely been talking to people and ask them a question and they'll be like, okay, I'm going to shut that down. It was like, let's back up, let's move to the left, and then let's talk about something else. And that happens to me a lot.
Okay.
And like one of the funny, it's not funny for him, but one of my favorite examples of that was I was doing a thing, one of the Clancy books. So I was doing some research with the Navy. And I went out to San Diego and I'd spoken with their publicity people and they were going to let me, spend a day with one of their kind of top gun for the undersea warfare. I forget what you call it now.
Do they call it bottom gun? I mean, what do you
probably
call
secretly? No,
Michael, this is right in your wheelhouse of generation. What do you call the top gun for subs?
They were.
I mean, it'd be bottom gun, right?
I would say bottom gun.
Fix it up. It was anti-submarine warfare, so it was like
ASW guys.
Yeah. And this was a very young guy, and I come in all smiles, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad to talk to you. This guy was miserable. He'd spent by noon he had told me that he'd spent the entire day with JAG, talking about what he could say and what he couldn't say. And I would ask him a question, and he'd be looking up on the phone to see if it was like, if it was out there or what. So there was a lot of stuff like that. And I felt like I'm making this guy's life miserable. And I was like, I don't mean to put you through this. And it's
you know what the move is?
You can lie to me at any time.
Well, also just have the JAG hang out with you too.
Yeah.
Like, take the emphasis off of the junior person.
Exactly.
And if you're going to have to run it through a JAG, or if you mess up and you're going to end up in front of the JAG, just have the guy in the room.
The whole time I remember thinking like, why am I putting this guy through this? I could have just made up some BS or just like, but I mean, it was cool to get it was a Clancy book. He wanted to be as accurate as possible. But no, he was great. He was terrific. He's probably going to watch this. And
he did the best he could.
No, he was awesome. And we were laughing about it later in the day. But those first few hours, the questions I was asking him, he was every one of them. I'm sitting, he was just wishing he was anywhere else.
At this point, I would almost imagine you can access all the data you need just with a laptop. There's
a lot. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised, but I mean, people would be surprised what you can learn. And, a lot of times, I've talked to people so often and I've been like, look, I am not looking to jam anybody up. I'm not looking to put anything in there that shouldn't be. If you want to look at it before, that's fine. Don't ever underestimate my ability to completely get it wrong and screw it up anyhow. I was talking to a guy once who was like, hey, we're going to meet, but I'm going to leave my phone in my hotel room and I would ask you to do the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? Was this guy just full of crap? Yeah. And then I meet him and he goes, here's the thing. I don't know what you're going to put in this book. And let's say a year from now that book comes out and, they ask me if I talk to you or you tell somebody you talk to me and you could coincidentally he's like, I'm not going to give you anything, but I don't know what you're going to put in that book. And
that's true. You could swing and hit one out of the park unknowingly. Exactly. And that could be attributed to the person that you met.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, yeah, I held a TSSCI clearance when I was on the East Coast, and I was only read into, I think it was 2 programs at the time. And what I always tell people are this. One, what I was read into was not going to blow your hair back.
Right.
And 2, I have done peripheral Google searches, not using the exact search terms.
Yeah.
And all of the information is actually out there.
In some capacity.
In some capacity. What it is that people don't know what to search for. You'd have to point them in a hallway and say, there's several doors here. maybe work your way towards the end of the hallway.
Yeah.
The third one on the right might have something interesting.
Yeah.
It's all kind of out there.
Yeah.
Whether or not you know how to access it or what you're looking for, I think is the difference.
And I think I noticed this more in the first few years when I was writing Clancy stuff. There was a lot of it's out there maliciously. There's a lot of, like Julian Assange type thing.
Yeah.
There was a website called, I don't even know on a drive. I don't know if it's still around. I shouldn't even say, but there was a website that had open source information, but it was literally like, here's the back door to the NSA headquarters in West Virginia. I'm just making that up, but but it was all this kind of stuff. And I talked to a journalist friend of mine, and I was like, "Have you heard of these guys?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I think that's complete treason what they're doing." It's like literally they're just going like, "Here's the turn lane that the the agency people turn into when they go home at night." It's just that level of.
That's interesting.
I think
is
it's
that
malicious.
Treason? Malicious for sure, without a doubt. They're not putting that information out there because they're being kind, friendly stewards and neighbors.
Right.
But at the same time, are they breaking any laws by doing it?
I don't know. It was up and running. I mean, that was a while ago. Hopefully it's not still in existence. But it just goes to show you that, open source can be dead wrong, right? Yeah. And it could also
be dead right.
And it could also be dead right.
Yeah.
And for many different reasons.
My favorite story about Clancy is that after The Hunt for Red October came out, the old government came knocking and was like, hey, where did you get this information?
Yeah.
And he swiftly escorted them to the library
where
it was all public record.
Yeah, like Jane's Defense Weekly and these big tomes.
Dude.
He was pre-internet, so.
How do you guys not know that this stuff is out there in the library? Again, if you don't know to look for it or it's not of an interest to you, it could sit, the state secret could sit there for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Or you could have every time I think of that movie, of course, it's Sean Connery, where they switch from the Russian to English. It's like, what a masterpiece. I watch that movie at least once a year.
It is.
It still holds up.
It's one of 5 films I've seen that I won't say as good as the book, but holds up the book. Silence of the Lambs. There's just a very few to where I go book is incredible, movie is incredible, but Red October is definitely one of those.
Yeah. The fact that you could make that a fictional movie to the point where the government comes a knocking, you have a hell of an imagination.
Yeah, and I mean, his initial printing was 5,000 copies, and it was like Naval Institute Press. He didn't have a big
of The Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, so
5,000 copies.
He did not have a big book deal. He had it published by Naval Institute Press, which had never published fiction. I'm pretty sure that's correct, and Ronald Reagan had a copy of it and was getting on or off a plane, and somebody took a picture of it, and it came out. And back when that was big news, like if that happened now, no one would care. But that made everybody want it, and then suddenly he went to a same publisher I have. And
how does that? So that's interesting though. Demand spikes. It's not like you can mass produce that book.
I'm sure there was a scramble.
What do you do? Do you bump other projects off of the press? Because Reagan all of a sudden's cruising around. Yeah. Well, actually, let's back up a sec. Wouldn't be Reagan because obviously he is no longer with us. Right. But whatever. The current current president actually may not be a good thing if the current president gets a hold of that thing. It's very polarizing.
Yeah, for sure.
But whatever, your initial printing is 5,000. The demand goes through the roof.
Yeah.
Especially in a non-internet era like that.
Right.
How do you capture that? Like, how do you put the rope around that bull's neck without it just running out of the...
I bet it was a scramble. And now they would just jam them out with ebook and overnight printing and figure it out. But
how quickly do you think they could solve that if you fast forward that to today and they had a demand signal that just went stratospheric?
Well, I can make an educated guess because back when I wrote Clancy books after he passed away, I would be late with them because I was also writing my own series and a big Monster Clancy book every year. So
how did the publisher like that when you were a little late?
I'm still late. It's the same publisher, it's the same editor, the same publisher. I mean, at this point, it's like I'll tell my wife I'm going to be late with the book. She's like, well, they give you extra time. I'm like, no, that's already factored into me saying I'm going to be late. Yeah.
I'm going to be late the extra time.
I've pushed the envelope. It is now torn. And but anyway, I think one of the Clancy books, I was so late. This is going to give my editor a heart attack to say this because he's going to be like, now all the authors think they can do it. I feel like I turned it in, the final version at some point in late October, and the book came out in December, which is, a Tom Clancy book, which are this big and a couple 100,000 words.
That's going to the top of the heap, though. That's going to bump some other people at the printing press.
It was probably a disaster. Sorry, Tom. I'm telling my editor secrets, but I mean, it was interesting. That was a long time ago, but yeah, I'm sure I always feel like if I'm late, I'm making problems for somebody else. I don't like to be late, but there were times in my career when I was writing 350,000 words a year, and
that's a lot.
And then publicizing 2 books as well, and it's a lot of work.
Are you still pumped about writing?
Yeah, right now I am. It's funny. I always say like the best part of every book is the day you kind of think up the idea, and then all the hard work comes. And
how do you know when you have it, the kernel that's actually going to stick? Versus, I don't know about you. I would say I have a relatively active imagination.
Yeah.
If I were to grade my ideas between an A to an F scale, most of them hover around a D.
Yeah, but those D's, but you keep working on those D's. No, I think
I recognize them. I'm like, no, next.
No, see,
next.
That's what you think.
You're saying feed the D's?
Yeah,
fertilize
absolutely.
them? Pour shit on top of them?
I don't think the entire time I was writing Clancy books, I don't think I ever had any kind of idea that didn't make its way into a book. Like I don't remember.
Really?
I'd be like, what if it was like underground in France and the cat, do it, and then you just like, I don't have time, it just make it work. And so I remember there were a lot of things where when you first have that kernel of an idea, you think it's awesome. And then you start digging into it and you're like, well, how would that work? How would that work? And you just keep, germinating on it. And that's what I do now. So I really like what I do when I have that idea. And I sort of, you asked like how I know, and it's when I get interested in the book. Like I'll come up with like a general idea. Oh, North Korea is going to do this, or, the Greyman is going to go try and find his brother, or any little thing like that. And that's enough to like, for me to tell people what the book's about. But internally, I'm not like excited. And it's kind of when I think, well, what if there was this organization that's been around since the Civil War? And then you start getting into all this and you're like, well, I get to research this. And I just got back from the Austrian Alps like 2 weeks ago doing research on this book. And it was an idea I had like in late December. And I was like, would you really?
That's a quick turn.
Yeah. To do the location research. I have a bad habit of like placing the book in the Alps in December or January and going in August to look at it because of just the way it goes. But I was like, I've got to get over there and look at that right now because that's what the scenery's like, and really to pull that into my brain to get the juices flowing. And it worked really well. So when I'm excited about my own stuff, then I can really, produce. But it's those months where you go like, I've got an idea, I've got a word count, I've got a hit, I've got, a Word document with a bunch of words on it that don't make sense to anybody, much less me. That's when it's a slog, but you get to the good part.
How much per year do you think you would write if you weren't under contract?
That's a good question.
Like if it was truly just,
if it's just me doing it for
just
fun.
because you're passionate about it, and when you like, well, guess what my word count is? Whatever I want it to be.
Yeah.
I have, a year off. Will I write? Maybe you wouldn't write for a year.
Yeah.
But if you were left to your own devices without the we'll call it the publishing guillotine,
right?
Which it seems like I bet it only like they lower it a bit, then it just goes back up and lower. Like I feel like it's just always in flux.
Yeah, like my books are due in the summer. For the Greyman books are due in the summer. So when I turn them, the final draft in the fall,
they just ratchet it up a few pegs.
I'm lazy for a few months, but I know that that's coming back around. Yeah. And so like now I'm doing publicity on last year's book. But I'm the one person going like, okay, well, next year's book's going to have to be ready this summer. So, I've worked on it all day today. If I was just left to my own devices, I would not write nearly as much. I would dream and think about it and do little bits of research. And I'm going to read this book about this thing. And I would do all that stuff. But the actual sitting down and writing it is the tough part.
Do you think you'll ever get to a point in your volume and resume of work where you look at it and say 27 books is, I'm sorry, that's a lot. Yeah. In a good way. I mean that completely in a positive manner and respectfully. Do you think you'll ever get to a place where you say, you know what, that's enough. Now I'm going to write for me?
That's a loaded question because it's not like I'm not writing for me, because each book that I do, like right now I'm writing a Greyman book, and then next year I'm writing a standalone that's not a Greyman novel, which is something that I want to write. And I have other ideas for stuff. So in that respect, they're all from me. Mm-hmm. But to have the schedule of them coming out the same time every year,
it's a pressure cooker.
I would back away from that at some point. I'm sure I will. And I used to write 2 books a year, and now it's, let's say, 1.4 books a year, is the way that it's working out. My books are longer. No one's ever asked me to write long books. I guess when I was working with Clancy, that sort of,
he
pulled
didn't
into
seem
it.
to be boundaried by word count.
No, gosh, no.
And I appreciate it. I grew up, my Christmas present for many years. I would get a couple things, but one of them would always be the newest Clancy novel. And I didn't need to bother unwrapping it because I just knew it was the thing that looked ridiculously large from the side.
Me and my dad would give each other the Clancy book all through the late 80s and 90s. And that was just kind of our thing, and it was.
Do you think you would like writing more if you took that stress away? Do you think you'd be more passionate about it?
I wouldn't even know if I was passionate about it, because it would just be, I think I would probably finish a book every 3 or 4 years. My first novel took me 15 years to write, and I did nothing with it, no one was going to do anything with it. Like, nothing was exactly the right thing to do with that book. But I mean, I learned a lot of stuff along that way. I started it in 1990. I finished it in 2005. And then I wrote my second novel from the summer of 2005 to like January of 2006.
Do you still have
7
that
months.
first book?
Yeah.
Have you ever done anything with it?
No, because I think I've pulled out all the cool parts and you
became the skeleton of other things.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I say it's like the car in the back of your house, up on blocks. It was a very cool story idea, but it's very dated now. It would almost be historical fiction because it was sort of.
There's a genre for that. Like I said, my wife enjoys somehow listening to vampire novels that occur in the time of like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
But that's a cooler vampire novel than the teen vampire novel genre and the other stuff. So
I'm not going to say anything about the vampire genre because I enjoy my marriage.
There you go.
And if she were to hear this, the vampire genre is
great. Did you ever see that movie, Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
Let me tell you, I was forced. I basically forced her to watch The Greyman. Yeah. She forced me. She was into it though. By the end, she was yelling at the TV again, mostly about Captain America behaving in a non-Captain America way. Yeah. I did watch that movie. I am not a movie critic. I am not Siskel and Ebert. I would not rate it incredibly highly. Entertainment, yes.
Yes.
It's also a complete and utter hot mess.
Of course. For what they went in to do, I think they executed what you can't have that title and then come out with anything more.
Yeah. How much of the Greyman movie, which, again, Captain America, Chris Evans, and then Ryan Gosling, how much were you involved in that, if any? Because at some point, somebody options the ability to write a screenplay off of the book, correct? Walk me through this process, if you would.
Yeah, that's the process, exactly. So the book came out in 2009, and like a month before the book came out, we sold a film option.
How does that work? You basically...
So for 3 years, a studio has the rights to make a film version of it.
Do you give them a draft? Is that what they make the decision off?
Yeah. So they already have the book.
So it's like a pre-release copy. They're getting a look at what they...
Yes. So they had that from the beginning. That's what they bid on, I guess. And then they didn't do anything with it for 3 years. Actually, they did. They got a really good screenwriter, had a great screenplay. Brad Pitt was very close to doing it.
Oh, interesting.
And back in like 2012, like it was in the media and all this stuff. And it fell through. And then it got kind of close again and it fell through again. And then the rights came back to me. And then I was just on phone calls like every day for like a week. Nobody cares about me. And then suddenly everybody in Hollywood wants to talk to you on the phone. And
do you know why that change happened? Was there something?
Because the rights reverted to me.
You're talking about in a short time period after you getting them back.
Yeah. Okay. I got them back like on a Wednesday, and within the next, for a 2-week period, all these people were interested in it because the screenplay that had been written, which I guess was owned by the previous studio and they couldn't use it. It got around to everybody, and everybody was like, this is like one of the best unproduced screenplays out there. It made people read the book and, know about the series. And so once it became available again, also what had happened, I think, is John Wick had happened. The Taken movies had happened, all these other things that had done well in Hollywood were going on. And so I got on a call with the Russo brothers, who had done, at that point, I think they'd only done one of the Marvel films, but they'd done other stuff.
Yeah.
And of all the people I talked to, they seemed the most energized by it and excited by it. And so we did a deal with Sony to where they hung on to it for 3 years. And then a whole all these the Russo brothers went back to do more Marvel films, so they kind of had to, yeah, exactly. So they had to put it on a shelf, and Sony had it, and then the pandemic happened, and then the Russo brothers, like Joe Russo, would call me every 6-9 months or whatever, and go like, "Man, we want another crack at that one of these days."
Did it come back to you again?
It didn't come back to me for a long time, but then finally Sony bought it outright, so it was never coming back to me.
Okay, so they owned it.
Yeah, but then a deal got worked out with Netflix and the Russo brothers to make it. So you asked how much I had to do with it. When the Russo brothers first got the deal, I went out to LA and spent a couple days with them talking about the series and how I saw it. And then they wrote a script that I liked. Joe Russo wrote it. And then, then other people got involved over the years. And I really liked the film for what it was. It's very different from the books that are written.
Entertainment-wise, it's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like a spy genre movie for sure, kind of down the center of the road.
Right. And I think when you're making $200 million film, you have to get everybody's eyeballs on it. And so it's not going to be nearly as gritty as maybe the books are or deal with things. There's things in the film that bug me. And there's things in the film where I go like, oh, that's clever. I wish I thought of that. But I didn't have any say, so I was never on the set. I never,
The actors never reached out and maybe asked you about, well, I didn't realize that Chris Evans' character wasn't even in the book.
No, there was a guy with that name, named Lloyd. You don't know if it's a first name or a last name, but he was not, he wasn't like an action star. He was just sort of like a lawyer that was like behind the scenes.
Definitely rewritten for the purpose of the show.
But I mean, they got Chris Evans to do it, and so I think that was cool.
So Gosling's character, though, would be the Greyman. It's interesting that, I wonder what kind of research they do. I'm assuming they read the book, or I don't know. Do actors even just skip that step and read the screenplay? And
I feel like he had to know more of the story. So the screenplay that was actually filmed involves things that happen in this first book, the second book, and like the fifth book, and characters that don't come around till later. So somebody was reading. Yeah. And I actually spoke with one of the screenwriters, and he was definitely reading everything. I thought Ryan Gosling got the characters so right, and a lot of little aspects of it, that I really feel like he must have done some kind of homework on it, but I don't know.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, he's very good.
Again, having just watched it within the last 24 hours, a lot of the stuff I think he gets right is actually not in stuff that he says, but just reactions or like a physical expression as opposed to a verbal expression.
Yeah.
That stuff is an art form for sure. Acting is an art form. I've watched a little bit from behind the lens, and I don't know how they do it.
Yeah. No, I was very impressed by it. And when I'd read the screenplay as a writer, I felt like I'd seen the movie when I read the screenplay. And then when I saw the movie, it felt very different from the screenplay. And that's the actors putting their 2 cents in. And I thought that was amazing. The Ana de Armas character doesn't exist in the book at all. Mm-hmm. So to me, she kind of comes in and like solves a lot of problems that this.
She's in the entire story arc.
Yeah. So she doesn't exist in the series or anything. And so like, I felt like, I think she's amazing, and she's good in everything she does. But I felt like story wise that it was a little bit of a crutch at certain points where she kind of like, gets, situations are resolved because, she pops up and I'm like, I don't even know who you are.
That's a constraint of time on that medium.
Sure.
They have 90 minutes to 120 on the far end to go from flash to bang.
Yep.
Yeah, they have to solve some problems in ways that I think you need those characters for those bridges.
Yeah, so the Greyman novel is 100,000 words. It's my shortest book that I've ever written.
That's your shortest book?
Yeah. And the, whatever a screenplay is 100, 110 pages of very few words on the page. Yeah. It's probably not even 10,000 words when you add it all up. So yeah, they have to do a completely different type of storytelling than I do.
If they had asked you to come and even just see how the movie was made, not even necessarily for author input, would you have gone down just to see how the sausage is made?
Absolutely. I mean, this was the first year of the pandemic when they filmed it, so they had all these protocols and stuff. Yeah. So I don't think no one was excluding me, and I wouldn't have gone in and gone like, I think you need to do this. It bugged me when they would call like a CIA officer, an agent, like little things like that, and it would have been like, fingers on a chalkboard, but I wouldn't have said anything.
The beauty is that bugs everybody at the agency. Yeah. I'm not going to say that John Kiriakou is a friend, but I've talked with him a few times on shows, and I've heard his commentary on other videos he's done, and he's very upfront. Like, we watch all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
sure.
you know it's absolutely driving them bananas too.
Yeah, I'm sure so.
Which I can appreciate, and I'm sure they messed that stuff up too with FBI officers instead of calling them agents or Secret Service, whether it's a uniformed division guy or an actual.
Yeah, and no one would know otherwise. No. And then, you sort of learn your lingo. You ever watched a movie and it takes place on an airplane and you go like, that's not what the flight attendant would say in that situation or whatever. It's just like anytime you get into another world and you don't represent it right, people, it kind of looks like somebody learned about airplanes from watching movies about, taking flights and not taking flights. Yeah. And it's the same thing with guns or with, any other thing. And I've had, I get the emails from people who are like, I'm an expert in thermodynamics. This is something you got wrong about cold or
all you got to write back is I'm not an expert in thermodynamics and this is a fictional book.
Yeah.
I actually, from time to times, not time to times, say things that I am at the front leading edge of my skis or over my skis about knowledge wise. And I get some of those emails too. And I try to integrate it, but at some point, I actually don't know. Like if you were to write a fictional book about the SEAL community or your average SEAL deployment or SEAL combat operation, if you wrote it as it went and kept all of the details in there, it would be really boring.
Yeah.
So I think there is an aspect of the fictional being able to play with whatever you want to inside of that ecosystem.
Yeah, it wouldn't be boring. It would need to be edited, right?
It would be boring. And then so and so walked to the corner and looked around the corner and there was no one there. That's about of those 110 screen pages. That's like 90 of them.
90, yeah.
I mean, how do you capture 72 hours of sitting in front of a computer doing planning on PowerPoint and arguing over the font?
Right.
I haven't seen that in any movies.
Yeah. Early in my career, I was a ghostwriter for somebody who's in that community. And we had talked about an idea and I had written the opening few scenes and I sent it and it took place in Afghanistan up in the mountains and I sent him what I'd written and he's like, yeah, okay, so the Reaper pilot would not know that call sign for him, so he would call him this, and then the people at the talk would not have a direct line of communication with these people, so they would call them this. And then I was like, okay, we're on page 4 and we got 6 different names for the protagonist. I'm like, you're going to kind of have to let me do my BS here and run with it that way. And he was great, let me get away with those sort of things. But I'm sure it was like, fingernails on a chalkboard to him to see everybody, calling somebody Joe or whatever.
I think there is an audience for people who want it to be word for word specific and lay out all those things. There's also, I think, another audience that dwarfs the size of that first one.
Yeah.
That if you get that early into the minutia, they might close it up and move on to the next book.
Absolutely. And then, a smart editor or a smart director or a smart screenwriter is going to go like, please shut up. Let me do what I know. Let me know, let me do what I know how to do. And when I first wrote it, I had met an agent who had turned down some other stuff, but he's like, I like your writing. I said, if I write 50 pages of my next idea, will you read it? And I wrote this scene where it takes place in, I've forgotten now, Iraq. And it's like during the war. This book came out in 2009, so I wrote it in 2007. And a guy a mile away, he's got a Barrett, and he sees the Greyman. He sees a helicopter with Americans has crashed, and there's Al-Qaeda's got him. And just basically in an act of vengeance, he just opens up with the Barrett on him and drives off. And he's a mile away. And so I gave it to the agent, and he calls me up. He's like, man, this is really good. This is just so good. You're way on the right track, everything. He just needs to save somebody. And I was like, well, yeah, but he's like a mile away and there's like, 30 Al-Qaeda guys. And, so I don't know how he's going to do that. And he's like, yeah, well, he needs to do that. And I was like, but how? He's like, you're the writer. You got to figure that out.
Yeah.
And I remember like getting off the phone with him and going like, okay, that's going to completely change my idea of getting this like as correct as I can. But it also is the reason that I'm on book 15 now, because if I tried to make that, he was having me swing, for the fences on this thing. So I went back and I wrote the scene where he's like, screw it. One of them has been taken alive. I'm going to go like, cut off their pickup truck and shoot those guys. And
we're going to close the distance to under a mile.
Exactly. Yeah. By myself,
solo mission.
Yeah. So, but that kind of informed the whole series after that. And so the agent was absolutely right. But it was not, my first inclination was like, I'm going to, pretend like I really know what I'm talking about and try and get everything exactly right. But he was right.
I'm glad people like that exist.
Yeah.
To keep people like you and I on the tracks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that'd be just, the train would be off in a gully somewhere. Nobody would have come and looked for it.
For sure. And I've read stuff from people who are in the community, that have written that is a little too in the weeds,
Have you ever read Jack Carr stuff?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
His stuff, man, he flirts with having to submit for DOD approval. His
well, he did at his first book.
His first one, I think it took about 37 years to get it back, even though it was a fictional book. It's for people who know what they're looking at, who come from that world, there's a really, really high level of accuracy. And then for other people, it's just a lot of information that maybe they get behind and maybe they don't. Sure. And I can appreciate it. Like Jack was in my Buds class, so I've known him for 30 years at this point. God, it's wild to say that. He is really smart to have never told anybody while he was in. He wanted to be a fiction writer.
Yeah.
We would have eaten him for lunch.
Yeah.
And then probably an appetizer for dinner as well too. But yeah, I appreciate his writing. He's somebody who goes into that granular level, like it was a Winkler hatchet, or he's literally describing the functioning of an M4 and the piece inside of it, or the gas system modification. And some people are just like, hey man, I'm driving my car here. Like, what are you talking about? Right.
There's people that live for that. And then there's people that kind of indulge it. And there's people that kind of tune it out, but it doesn't bother them. And there's probably people that aren't, but you know what? Those people were never going to stick with a Jack Carr novel anyhow. And they or stick with my novels or whatever. Yeah. And so I was watching you the other day.
Oh dear God.
With Rob.
Be careful which episode.
Rob O'Neill. And
it's an interesting episode.
It was a very interesting episode. I actually listened to his audio book when it came out, and he's the best audio narrator.
Really?
He could do it professionally.
What did he get right that makes you say that?
He didn't sound like he was reading. It sounded like I'm sitting there at a podcast and he's telling me a story, and that's very, very rare. And then like if you told me that like a Dev Grew guy was going to narrate his own book, I'd go, who knows?
I just did it 2 weeks ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
They just sent me the approved version of it. They asked for no pickups, no redos. They said it was one of the more accurate copies that they've ever done.
That's awesome. Yeah. I wouldn't do it in a million years.
Well, here's the thing. So it was 3 days. It was about 6 hours a day, but I enjoyed it. And I left with an appreciation for anybody who is a voice actor.
Oh gosh,
by the way, because the whole time I'm thinking about this, I'm looking at the words and I'm like, I remember why I wrote this, and I remember how I felt when I wrote it, and I know exactly, even though it may not be on the page, where I would want the inflection or emphasis.
You can kind of emote in a way that a narrator wouldn't be able to. Who didn't write it?
Anybody? And then I'm thinking about fiction. I mean, the only way I could even fathom doing an audiobook as an actor is I'd have to spend like 4 months with the book, kind of committing to memory the sequential way that things happen, so you could figure out in some way to emote at the right time. It was a fascinating process, and I left that like, okay, you guys who do this for a living, absolute respect.
Yeah, and think of like 9 or 10 different characters or 20 different characters and all that.
No.
But yeah, no, he did good. But what I was going to say is we were talking about the minutia. And, like I get off on like listening to people get real into the weeds about stuff. And you guys were like 0.003% of the world is going to understand all that stuff about the tandem jumping and all that stuff. But like, I loved it. It's like, but a lot of people love it, but they won't necessarily understand it. And
they all understood the shit your pants part.
Yes, they understood.
Oh, so a canopy opens so violently that sometimes your passenger breaks their neck and you lose bowel control. Okay, I don't want to do that.
And he's the type of guy that'll tell you about it 15 years later.
He's a great storyteller.
He's a great story. But there was one point that I like. You were talking about how nobody can really fist bump while wearing nods. And like, to me, that's like the best thing, because like the stuff I like to put in my books are these just little things that make people feel like you've been there or you've done it.
Yeah.
And it's not just that it's funny. It's just that you noted that And years later, you're going like, that's still a thing that like, nobody can fist bump with nods on because of the depth perception.
Idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just two dudes whiffing.
Yeah.
It looks awkward in the daytime. Plus, it doesn't happen because you can actually make contact. But two idiots at the highest level of the military trying to be like, "Hey, what's up, bro?" And you miss and just look like absolute clowns. Yeah. And the only people who see it are your friends.
Yeah.
But it sticks with you.
But that's a wonderful inside baseball thing that would definitely go in the book.
So take that. I have watched a close friend in Iraq sprinting as fast as he could get clotheslined by a clothesline in somebody's yard because he didn't see it with nods. Right underneath the neck. I couldn't do anything for like 5 minutes. I was laughing so hard. I don't think anything was going on, but if it had,
you would have still been laughing.
Oh no, they would have needed to go get somebody else to handle it. I'm talking tears. He's laying there like choking. I probably should have asked if he was okay. I couldn't get a word out because I'm dying laughing. This is a JSOC command. Like, yeah, guys, we're all at the end of the day. Just monkeys running around. Yeah, I can see at night kind of through a 32-degree field of view.
Right. Yeah, that just seems incredibly claustrophobic.
It's not bad. You get so used to it.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, it's you get. I mean, I think I have thousands of hours on goggles, and it's just you get used to like a scan more than anything. You don't realize you're doing it because you're just increasing your field of view.
I've never worn them once. I mean, all my
really,
I have 2 ARs, but they both have like real high risers just because that's comfortable on my neck.
Yeah,
and everybody's like, "Do you use nods?" I'm like, "No, I'm just."
Well, the beauty with nods is you don't even have to shoulder it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the time you turn the laser on, you can have it with the buttstock a little bit underneath your arm.
Right.
So, I mean, you can, and there's some optics that you can see through, like EOTechs that will have, you can actually see the reticle. It has a night vision setting on it as well too. But yeah, it's that was a fascinating interview. That was the first time he and I had ever sat down and talked, actually.
Really? Yeah. No, that was interesting. No, I thought it was good. His audiobook was.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I also, I left the reading my book as well. I think that if the author is willing to give it a try, I think the experience for the listener has got to be substantially better than somebody coming in blind. Right.
Yeah, I would think so too. It's probably different in fiction because you have to do the accents and you have to.
Well, in fiction, you have a lot of room to maneuver, shall we say.
Right.
It was an interesting process. Yeah, I did sit right here at the table. They let me do it remotely. A guy was monitoring me from Zoom. Swiping through on an iPad. He was telling me stories about how they used to have reams of paper that they had to come through or books. So they'd have to go back and take out the sound of edit out the sound of the page flipping as they went through each page.
No, I listened to a lot of audiobooks and I've listened to like, the Marines and, this province in Afghanistan. It's read by a guy with a British accent, like it sounds like he's 75, because it's nonfiction.
That's tough.
But, there's like some of my favorite authors are British and they will say things, dialogue wise or whatever that no American would ever say. They're, an American, so it's all aspects of it.
Do you know who the podcaster Chris Williamson is?
The name is familiar. Yeah.
He is British and it pisses me off. He has the Modern Wisdom podcast. He can say the dumbest stuff, but because his accent
sounds so
what
intelligent,
it is, he could literally read, I think, an encyclopedia and just have episodes that crush people like you are. I could listen to you forever, darling. Damn it.
Yeah, he's got this amazing leg up.
I also I wonder what we sound like to them.
I don't know. Do we all sound like we're from...
Well, we certainly don't sound like he does. Yeah. So if he sounds a little bit...
Yeah.
I appreciate the British and Australian accent. I think they're two of my favorites. But yeah, I also wonder what the hell we sound like the other direction.
Now all the British actors coming to America and they're playing like hayseeds from Alabama. And it's like, you've already got all the Shakespearean roles that we...
Totally.
That I'm from Tennessee. It's like we couldn't get that role.
What... Are you traditionally trained in writing, or is this just something you taught yourself?
Taught myself. I never really studied or anything. I was just a guy that just read all the books. I mean, just read all the espionage novels and got an idea for a story when I was in college. And like I said, I spent 15 years trying to write it. And
are we talking at this point like pen and paper, or were you electronic?
So almost. I think I started with a 5 1/4 or 5.5 inch floppy, and then would save it on a 3 and whatever they're called, and then
it's wild.
And then on a thumb drive.
Michael, do you even know what he is just talking about?
A floppy disk?
Yeah,
I actually do know what that is.
But did you see it on TikTok recently?
No, I know. I know what it is.
He saw it in a Jean Le Carre movie.
People My children, I had this conversation with them recently. I referenced a floppy disk.
Yeah.
And my daughter looks at me and goes, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
She's like, "What is this floppy disk?" I said it was actually a malleable disk that we had to put into the computer, and the startup sequence was about 2 minutes long on the computer.
And we thought we were such hot shit.
Oh, yeah. And then sometimes, if you were real fancy, you would plug it into the phone.
Yeah.
And if anybody picked up the phone while you were using the internet at a pace that a worm can go faster at, it ruined it. And she just looked at me like, "Why would you do that?"
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart, that I didn't create Cat5 internet cable when I was 16 years old."
Yeah. And you just wonder what the next generation is going to be like in the next generation. I mean, I guess we know with AI and stuff like that.
I think we're pretty close to having stuff plugged directly into our head, and I think that's the end of it.
Could be.
Yeah, I am. We might work for the robot overlords for our daily water ration in your and I's lifetime.
I mean, the people that are putting all their money into AI are going like, there's a good chance it's going to kill us all. But anyway, I'm going to need to borrow more money to put into it.
Yeah, I did in January. A buddy of mine sitting in that chair. We started talking about our screen time usage on our phone, which was for both of us mid to high 3 hours per day. Yeah. Which is, if you add that up over a week, you're actually working a part-time job doing nothing but scrolling with your thumb. So I spent January. Both of us tried to get our screen time down to under an hour per day. I got to an hour and 1 minute the week before last, and an hour and 8 minute last week. I have never felt better.
That's good.
It's
really good.
fantastic. Yeah. So all this AI stuff, all these devices, man, we are willingly participating in our demise.
Yeah. Everybody talks about like government spying on you, and it's like we've willingly given everything away to everybody. And if you look at it, like think of the Industrial Revolution and all these generations where the billionaires were the people that created this, or Henry Ford or whatever. And now it's like the most successful people that we all revere are people that have gotten us to give them all their information so they can throw ads at us. And those are the billionaires now. And it seems like we're going in the wrong direction.
A buddy of mine had a great idea. He takes the user agreements and throws them into ChatGPT because nobody is reading that stuff. Yeah. And this is, of course, a classic utilization of technology to explain how technology is just like, we're now in a closed catch-22
right.
self-licking ice cream cone.
Yeah.
But he'll just ask it, where is this a risk to me and what does all this actually mean? I haven't done it yet, but he said the results are shocking.
Because it'll tell you why not to sign.
It'll tell you so what is this 15,000 words short story? What rights am I giving up? What permissions does this give to the person I'm signing this for? And what risk is there to me? He said there hasn't been a time yet where it hasn't spit out something where he was like, whoa, that's hidden in there?
Yeah.
And then he'll be like, highlight that section and show me the exact verbiage. And it's there in plain sight.
Yeah. It's gotten so bad. This is the first year. So I've been published since 2009, and I've had books out every year. And this is the first year, probably about 4 or 5 months ago, some algorithms started picking up that I had a book coming out, and now AI can write emails spoofing real people. So every day I'm invited on 50 or 60 podcasts, or someone wants to do, and there's probably a real company who's hired an agent to do this, an AI agent to do this, but it'll get like, Mark, oh my gosh, I just finished your new book and it's the most propulsive thing I've ever read. People can't believe, I can't believe that Cord Gentry did this and, from your third book. And it's not good. Like when you read it, you can pick it apart.
It's not good right now.
But I get really bad emails. People humans write bad emails too.
Yes, they do.
But what happens is it just chokes out. It's the same email address that like fans or people that, have a request or want to reach out to me. So it's just choking out everything to where I can't see stuff. And someone had asked me for something for an event I'm going to in New York, Thriller Fest in May. And someone had asked me, sent me a very nice email asking me if I would be able to do this thing for Thriller Fest. And I just didn't read it because it's like, this is from Sally and this is from Fred and this is from Bob. And all day long I get them. And every one of them is, done by some sort of, pick me out with an algorithm. Sometimes it gets your name wrong. Sometimes it says author, but it's getting better and better. And it's, it's a technology that it's in its infancy. I wrote a book about weaponized AI a couple of years ago called Chaos Agent and did a whole year of research.
I like to sleep. I'm not reading that book.
No, gosh. And
that's the one where you spend the entire night looking at the ceiling fan, wondering, is it too far gone anyway? So maybe I just participate in the system because I can't stop it.
Yeah. And I mean, gosh, the Chinese have basically decided they will hand over, first strike capability to the machines at some point. And, if you are,
I mean, how do you counter that? Is the
counter?
I mean, or is the counter that you do it yourself?
The only thing is machine speed's got, if you're waging war at machine speed, you're going to win if the other guy's not.
Yeah.
And so unless, the technology's not there. So we do have some advantages over China in AI a little bit. Hopefully we don't relinquish them. But at the same time, they're all in with it. And,
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I got one of those emails last week. Andy, I just listened to the Audible version of your book. And it laid some stuff out. I responded, I said, just out of curiosity, where did you listen to the Audible version of the book? Because I just finished doing it last week.
Yeah. Were they in the room?
No response.
Yeah, exactly. Something went tilt, and then it just went on to the next guy.
The 1,000 other people.
Right.
It was fascinating. They actually just delivered the final file today.
And when does it release?
April 14th.
Oh, I hope you give me a copy.
I will give you a copy when they finally, these stingy publishers give me a copy. I have like 6 galley copies that they gave me. And then I think my agent sent me a couple more. But at some point, I'll send you a copy.
Yeah.
It's nonfiction, though. May not be your genre.
80% of what I read is nonfiction, probably 90%.
There's a real big step between, I looked forward to every year the Clancy novel, like I said. There's a real big step between voraciously consuming that type of stuff and turning around and writing a novel based off of that.
Sure.
How'd you bridge that gap?
I did stuff wrong a lot. I just think I was compelled to do it. And so, I talk to young writers or people that are trying to get published, and I just, you get all these people that's like, never quit, never give up. And I'm like, I don't know if you should maybe you should give up because you might not want to do this as much as I wanted to do it. And, there's other things I would love to do. And I probably wouldn't be very good at them. I should probably give up before I,
Never quit can be taken too far.
Yeah.
A real good example for that would be alcoholism.
Yeah, exactly.
Like how far do we want to go with this? You should never give up on anything.
Yeah, right.
What if you're addicted to methamphetamine? Yeah. I think you should quit.
You should try to find a way to quit. Yeah. And I mean, and if it's just not your thing, some people want to have written a book.
Just to say they have?
Yeah. Or, I guess so. And to me, the process of doing it was something I enjoyed. Now, I was in my 20s and had sort of no success in life. I've worked in restaurants, I had a college degree. I tried to get in the Air Force OCT when I got out of college and didn't get in. And I worked, selling computers, and then I worked in, international sales. But I was always just sort of a guy in a cubicle type of thing, but I've dreamed of being a writer. And so I was just sort of compelled to do it. Like I would secretly do it at work, and I would do it at night, and I'd read novels all the time. And it was just something that I don't know if there was a point where I went from being bad to being good, but when I finished my first book, the internet had been invented. And that's the first time I looked at how do you get your novel published? And it's like, well, you go to an agent, and an agent will help you find an editor and whatever. And so I knew that book, and it was also like, you shouldn't have this many main characters. I knew I'd done everything wrong in that first book, but I'd learned a lot. And then I wrote a second book, and I got in front of an agent with that. And he was like, you're a very good writer, but the story isn't that compelling, write something else. And I wrote a whole nother book for him, and it had the Greyman as the hero, but it was this book called Goon Squad. And he's like, yeah, I wouldn't have written it in first person. The plot line, I think, could be a little more exciting because you had this one subplot in Goon Squad about all these kill teams that are after him for something that he'd done in the past, and he's trying to do this thing in the present. And he's like, this thing in the present doesn't interest me, but if you had another story where he had to run through this gauntlet of people that are trying to kill him for something else, that would be a cool story. So go write another book, which is like, see you in a year.
Yeah, totally.
And
I'll be back on Thursday. Stand by for a rough draft.
Yeah. And I remember just, being just completely depressed for about a day, and then going like, you know what? You've spoken to like one of the best agents in New York who's given you a lot of positive things and told you what he wants to see. And you have to look at that as a good thing. And
that's a win for sure.
Yeah.
Even getting a response from somebody like that,
Exactly.
I'm putting that in the W.
Yeah. And then, so I wrote this whole book literally for one guy, from a 5-minute conversation. I was sitting in my car in the parking lot at my, my day job, and he's going like, well, I'm not going to be your agent, but if you write me something else, maybe that'll work. And I just tried to execute exactly what he said. And then he said, okay, I'll represent you. And then he put it out to 10 publishers, and 9 of them said no, and 1 of them said yes. And
that's the only answer.
That guy was my agent from then until he just sadly passed away last year, very young. Yeah, and that editor who was the one that said yes is still my editor. He was my editor of my Tom Clancy books and of the Greyman series. So all but 2 of the books I've done in my whole life, he's been the editor for. So, I think for me it was just. Everybody's going like, it's so great you never quit. And it was just like, I didn't want to quit. I was doing it. There was a point when I was like 39 and unpublished. I think my first book came out when I was 42. I remember being very depressed about, like lack of success in my life. I wasn't married, and it just kind of occurred to me, you know what? You like writing, you like walking around, making up stories in your head, even if nothing ever comes out of this, you're doing the thing that you love to do. I mean, you probably get depressed if you write books until you're 85 and never get a book published. But it was just sort of this thing where it's like, you're doing what you like to do. Something good will come out of it at some point. And then within like 3 years, I was published and had a film deal. And within 5 years, I was writing Clancy books, which was, complete head scratcher.
There are so many people that would focus on those 9 no's over the 1 yes.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. I don't think... It is brought to you by Helix. Love this company. Easiest ad read ever. Every mattress in my house is a Helix. And I started off by going right to their website, and I did their Helix sleep quiz. It'll ask you things like, are you a side sleeper, a back sleeper, stomach sleeper? Firm mattress, softer mattress. Do you sleep hot? Do you sleep cold? And it just works your way towards their recommendation. If you like it, you order this thing, and it'll show up at your house really rapidly in a box that you don't think a mattress should fit into. And then you'll try to pick it up, and you'll say, oh my goodness, this has the weight of a dying star. So you're going to get somebody to help you take it to your bedroom. You're going to take it out of the box, get it ready to go. You'll open it. It's going to reinflate itself, and then hopefully you have help to get it up onto the bed. And then you're going to have probably the best sleep of your life. It has a 120-night sleep trial. So if you don't have the best sleep of your life, guess what? You can send the thing back. Limited lifetime warranty as well. Seamless returns and exchanges. The Happy with Helix guarantee offers a risk-free, customer-first experience designed to ensure you're completely satisfied with your new mattress. I actually have had listeners reach out, say that they have ordered a Helix. It showed up at their house. It wasn't perfect for them. They sent it back, no issues whatsoever, and are sleeping better than they have in their life. Like I said, every mattress in my house is a Helix. If you want to check this out for yourself, go to helixsleep.com/clearedhot. Current offer is 27% off site-wide. That is helixsleep.com/clearedhot for 27% off site-wide. Do me a favor, make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know that I have sent you. helixsleep.com/clearedhot. Back to the show. I think earlier in my life, I would have told people that the key is just never give up. I've arrived at a place where I agree with you that not everything is worth killing yourself for. Yeah. For sure.
It just might not be your thing.
Yeah, if
there's something else is your thing.
I advocate for people, go explore stuff. Like, hey, make sure like you can pay your mortgage and your bills and stuff like that. But if you have free time, like go find some stuff. And if you go down what you think is a road and it's a cul-de-sac, just back out of that thing and go down. You don't have to like try to go get an excavator and turn it into a road. Yeah. And those no's though, I mean, you never know. Like, so yeah, you got to know and it sucks and you don't want to keep going. But if you do, the next answer you get may be a yes. Right. And you're the only one that knows, it's like, I think about like buds or whatever, having somebody yelling in your face that you need to go ring the bell or whatever. I'd probably be like, yeah, you're probably right. But when Mark, it was writing, you're not going to make it very far in training if we're going into it with this headspace. Yeah, exactly. And I think you were talking on the Rob O'Neill thing about some guy that, like first day, first hour or whatever. Just, it is shocking. Yeah. Every class didn't want to be there. I think they did want to be there. I don't
psyched out, or
I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't wake up and end up at SEAL training.
Right.
You gotta go through.
I never stumbled into it somehow.
To this day, I don't think anybody has.
Yeah.
Right? You volunteer for the military. You take another test in boot camp. You probably are going to go to a pre-selection program. You're probably going to have to compete for one of the slots because more people want to go than there are slots available. Then you get to Coronado. Then you're going to have to make sure you meet the standards to even start your first day. I don't think anybody does all of those steps with the intention of, I just want to quit a little bit farther down the line.
Right.
The first day of every class, people are quitting. And I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Maybe, I do think an aspect of it is, it's tough to prepare for somebody, an instructor that is that, I don't know intense in your space, can make it feel as if like they're never going to go anywhere for the rest of your life.
Right.
And if you get there and they're able to get you to question yourself, I would say your odds of graduation are going down for sure.
Right.
But also, what did you think it was going to be?
Yeah.
Use the internet. Go do some research. And a lot of this is on YouTube. You can kind of see what it's going to be like. And again, there's a difference between watching a YouTube video and living a YouTube video. I get that. But man, don't you want to see at least day 2?
Right. And I mean, that wasn't their thing. But Oh,
it definitely wasn't their thing. There's a row of helmets under the bell that would confirm that is not their thing. It's just, it's an immense effort to show up on day 1.
Right.
To throw the towel in then. Like at least
because it's not giving you anything you could like go back and brag about.
No,
you know? Like, I mean, unless you've spun it in some incredible way that like
there is some of that, my friend. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I thought the thing that always like kind of breaks my heart is like the poor guys that like twist an ankle or you know just the medical stuff, you know, and it's like who knows? Mentally, probably some of the best SEALs that ever would have lived, you know, broke their foot.
You can come back. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, being injured once doesn't statistically reduce the chance you might be injured again. And honestly, a lot of it is luck.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that until I went back as an instructor. But, you know, it's not an immense amount of rain that comes in San Diego, but it's foggy at times. And one of the obstacles on the obstacle course is it's a wall. It's a vertical wall. And there's a small section of wood, kind of like a 2x4, I guess it would be, for your feet. Then another one for your hands. And it starts low and it kind of goes its way up and comes down. I don't know how often they switch out that wood. Maybe once a decade. Point being, it's not the flattest platform. And this is the obstacle. This is almost at the end of the obstacle course. Foggy morning. Yeah. You roll in there, really moisture permeated.
Yeah.
A couple of people have gone before you. It's not that high of a fall. And I've watched quite a few. Here it is right here. You know, so one on the bottom for feet, and you can look at the bottom one. That is no longer squared off.
Right.
And you literally you shuffle, you scoot
you got
along.
The big boots on.
Yep. And you reach up here. He's going to reach up with his hand probably. Oh, that's not how I would have done it, but whatever. What do I know? He's a white shirt. Hasn't even been through Hell Week. Yep. Body and hips close to the wall. This is basically what Alex Honnold will tell you when it comes to how to climb stuff. I always went hand first and then brought my feet up because you could kind of anchor and then pendulum your body up there a little bit. But imagine that water soaked.
Right. And you're not the first guy doing it. Yeah.
And you have boots, right? And those boots are not, mountain climbing boots with a talon hook with, rubber on there designed to grab it. And usually it happens right about where this guy's at. They'll peel off oftentimes on that obstacle right there. And there you go.
And you start over? But it's timed, right?
You get 3 chances at every obstacle. So you could go back, but you have to complete it. But that fall doesn't look like it could be journey ending.
Right.
The number of times, the classic, you reach out to stop yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Double wrist.
Break your wrist. Yeah.
Or, you come off a little bit of an ankle, like you said. Your ankle goes and you roll it. I mean, that's the end.
Yeah.
Sorry. There's a lot of luck involved in that.
I remember reading when it came out, the Mark Owen book. You can say his name. I don't say his name.
He even says his name.
Yeah, I know he says
Matt
his name.
Bissonette.
Yeah. And he something in there just kind of made me laugh, like the nods thing, because he said he like always felt like he had like wimpy little ankles or something like that.
Sissy ankles.
Because he had trouble with his ankles at different times, and he was going like, oh, you wouldn't think that anybody would even think like that was doing that for a living.
We all have our Achilles heel, and sometimes it's, I guess, really close to the actual Achilles heel, in his case.
Yeah.
Yeah, Biss. He got, let's see here. I would say it took about 6 hours when that book came out for people to figure out who he was.
Really?
Well, maybe don't put your actual hometown in Alaska that you're from that 7 people have lived in since the history of mankind. I mean, I don't know. No, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that fascinated me about your background is the volume of research that you do and all the places that you've gotten to go and things that you've gotten to do. How do you line that up? How are you able to work with SWAT teams or get an invite to the Pentagon or go to the agency? And then this is like the wave tops. I won't have Michael do it, but your Wikipedia page is like, then he did this and this and this and this. I'm like, holy cow, man.
Well, I don't write my Wikipedia page, for the record. I don't know who does.
I don't think the internet does, and that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. They have my birthday wrong. So like in October, people will be like, happy birthday. Or somebody, I was being interviewed live. The guy's like, hey, you have the same birthday as my daughter. And I'm like, July 11th? He's like, no, October 15th.
On the internet, I have the same birthday
as
your
and I was
daughter.
like, okay, it's wrong. It's just over time. So really how it started when I was writing my first book, I just knew I needed to learn guns. I just wanted to learn guns, and I didn't grow up around guns other than my mom was a Kansas farm girl who had like a little .22 revolver, and we would go to the gun range at the sheriff's department gun range every now and then, and like all the old guys would like hit on my mom because she was like such a good shot, and so I shot when I was young, but
were they really hitting on her because she was a good shot?
And no, probably not, but it's too traumatizing to think about it.
I see where you're going.
Yeah.
I'm like, that could have been a causal.
It was a couple.
Yeah,
she was
corollary.
She was the pretty lady in the 1980s at the gun range.
I think that there were not many pretty ladies at the gun range at that time.
Yeah, that's what I'm leaning.
The ratio of male to female there is going to be quite askew.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to learn about guns, and so I bought a Glock, and I went to the local gun range and took a class and took another class, and then somehow found myself in a class I had no business being in. The law enforcement guys were just really, really good. But everybody, it's a community that's incredibly welcoming.
It really is. More so
and
than
people don't
think.
know that. And people don't know that. And, I feel like I straddle 50% of people I know are conservative and 50% are liberal. Conservative doesn't mean what it used to, but
I don't think liberal does either.
No, I don't think it does either. But anyway, conventionally, And I'm always telling people like, the people that will help you out more than anybody are like gun people. And I would take more classes, and I've just sort of like fall into something else. And I started training at a place in Tennessee that was training a lot of military contractors, this is in the 2000s. And I would take a class that was a little bit more sophisticated than last time, and then a little more and a little more. And I got into carbines, and I just got into it. But really meeting the people in the team rooms and the bunkhouses where you'd stay, you'd take like a week-long class, and it would be somebody who flew drones at Creech, or it would be somebody who was in FBI or whatever, some tactical unit here or there, and they knew people, and people were already super friendly and welcoming before I ever got published. So it wasn't like, oh, it's the writer guy, let's do something nice for him. That came first. I had a lot of social anxiety, so I wasn't the guy that was going to call up the Pentagon and go like, hey, how do I go about this? But I knew a guy who's like, hey, let me introduce you to this person. And then once I started writing for Clancy, that opened up a lot of doors. When I did my first book with Tom Clancy, it was in 2011, I wasn't allowed to tell anybody I was working with him the whole time I was working on the book, because they weren't even going to, sort of announce the book until it was finished, and they, Tom was happy with the product and all that. So I remember how frustrating it was, because I was like, I've got to go talk to an F-18 pilot at the Pentagon, and I just have to be me. I can't be like Tom Clancy's co-author.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a box to put you in.
Yeah. And the next year, after that book came out, the doors opened easier. But, I've gotten to fly in an F-18, which is an amazing experience. I've gotten to, be on different ships and do some cool stuff. And then I just do a lot of like research on my own. I learned to scuba on my own, and not on my own, but not through anything else. Yeah. And then, I still take the firearms courses, and, I own a lot of the guns that are in the books, and I go to the locations as much as I can, not with every book, but usually like for the hard line, I went to Northern Ireland and spent a good bit of time there. Did a lot of research around DC and Virginia, where much of the book takes place. For next year's book, I went to Austria. I'm going to the Caymans. So some of the travel is like really awesome. And I'll go with my wife and it'll be cool.
You could really craft vacation. Like, listen, where do you want to go on vacation this year?
I've done that. I've absolutely done that.
For a tax strategy, we need to do research.
No, I saw that movie, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I'm like, man, Sweden looks cool. I'm going to do a Greyman book in Sweden. And
that was a killer movie too.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
Actually, both versions were good. I saw the first one. It was the Swedish version. And then
I did not know they had a Swedish version. I only saw the one with James Bond.
With Daniel Craig, which was fantastic. Like they remade it like 2 years later. It was such a success. And so I went to Sweden because I wanted to, see that area. So I've done that before. I'm lucky to be able to do it, but I don't come from the background, that a lot of people who write these books come from. I don't come from Jack Carr's background. I remember thinking in the 2000s when the wars were going on, I was like, I want to be a writer. There's going to be a lot of these dudes 10 years from now fighting for the same, readership. And
hey, have you found that to be true?
Maybe not, the big writers in my genre, other than Jack Carr, are like Brad Thor, who's not, former military or law enforcement.
I like his books as well too. They might have the lived experience.
Yeah.
It's a different skill.
It's a very different skill.
On paper.
The one that I would say, I don't want to shortchange anybody because it
definitely shortchange Jack Carr.
I love Jack.
I'll send him the clip.
Do you know Brad Taylor?
No.
Okay, so he's a former Delta guy who writes the Pike Logan series, and he's got a dozen books. We came out about the same time. His books are really, really good, but he doesn't parlay Delta. Like his character is not, Delta or anything like that.
Of course not. That's completely on brand for a guy from CAG. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say he's more like hard ass about that than a lot of people. Like he does not market in his past. He's one of my best friends. He's a great guy, but he's able to write the books that have the humor and all these other elements, and they don't get too far in the weeds. It is a different, like, to me, I feel like I benefit from kind of like fanboying on stuff that I don't directly know. So when I'm talking to a friend of mine who's like a SWAT instructor, or I'm going to I'm playing Op 4 at a shoot house with SWAT guys, like I'm picking up on real little things that these guys who do this all the time aren't maybe appreciating as much as I am. And I'm parlaying that into, I'm trying to be a representative for the millions of readers that'll read my books, and not trying to be the been there, done that guy.
I bet a lot of those things you're picking up on, those communities don't even realize they're doing them anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, it's white noise in the background. It's habitual. It's ingrained in their tactics.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of specifics to that when I'm when I'm talking to somebody for research, because a guy will just be telling me all about radio frequencies and this and that detail. And then they'll just basically, as an aside, say like, and just something that's not interesting to them, but it'll be like, oh yeah, a lot of those Taliban had Makarovs, and be like, okay, let's talk about that for a minute, and let's not talk about what frequency this guy would be on.
Yeah.
And not to insult anybody, but it's literally
one grabs more attention than the other.
That's the thing that interests them. And I was talking to a guy one time, and he was showing me some video of some breaching thing, and it was very involved. And then I was like, well, why are they blowing this over here? He's like, well, they're just putting a gun port in there because they don't have an angle on that. And I was like, what's a gun port? Let's talk about that.
That's exactly
blowing a hole in the wall.
Is.
So, it's like, we could talk about that and less about exactly how much C4 has to go, on that joint or whatever they're talking about.
Yeah, the audience, first off, there's an argument to be made that nobody needs to know how much explosive or the minimum safe distance, or you can talk about MSD and stuff like that. Yeah, you could talk about the portholes or gun holes or gun ports and all that stuff. Yeah. What's the coolest trip you've been able to do under the guise of research? Or for legitimate research, but that tied directly into one of your novels?
Yeah, I mean, I got to fly an F-18 in New Orleans.
It's pretty sweet, isn't it?
That was an amazing experience. But
did they let you fly? Yeah. Never mind. Don't answer. I already know the answer based off the response.
Yeah.
I don't think they're allowed to.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying.
So no, they did not. No, it was very, very cool. We got to do like 7.5 Gs, and I didn't throw up. It was the best part. I kind of wanted. I said I was in that flight for like 90 minutes, and about 75 minutes I was really enjoying myself. So
yeah,
there's about 15 minutes where I was like, I don't want to.
Did you start sweating?
Oh yeah, gosh, yeah.
That's when you know.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah, and I didn't pass out, but I remember telling myself, you know what, it's okay if you do. People do all the time. You know, like it was.
As you're graying out, you're like,
I was totally graying out. I was like, let it go. And then right then was when he pulled out of it. So I was like, yeah, I think I was going. It was cool.
Those jets and those pilots, man.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a special skill set.
Oh, for sure.
With practice and reps, yeah.
Yeah.
I was able to do, I was a JTAC while I was in, and let's just say that the difference in optic from the ground looking up is way different than the up looking down. It was so helpful to be able to get up in one of those platforms.
To get the experience so you can better describe?
The sortie that I was with, I was just in the back seat, same thing, and they were doing simulated close air support runs. So I got to simulate being the JTAC from the back seat while looking at what it is they can see, which is such a vast difference.
Yeah.
On a controller on the ground, you're limited by, I am 200 meters south of the red building.
Right.
Well, if they're orbiting at 15,000 feet and see 37 red buildings, that is not helpful. So it really, if each of those people, the JTAC and the pilot, have a palette that they're going to paint on, it brings them a lot closer to be able to talk about things. Yeah. Because even in the school, they'll say, talk big to small. Well, yeah, big is 100 yards away for me is microscopic to the dude who is in an orbit trying to not only fly the machine itself and set up the systems, but also visually orient himself to the talk on I'm trying to do. Yeah. You could go like, hey, do you see the mountain? Let's start there. Do you see this bend in the river that's, arcs from east to west and then comes back? Right. It changed the perspective quite a bit, but it was, man, yeah, my head bounced off the canopy a few times. Oh, yeah. Didn't see some of the turns coming. Yeah. Yeah. So we were one ship of 4 and the other 3 had cannons. They were doing gun runs in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and we weren't allowed to have guns on there because I was on there. They don't want you taking over in the back, heading up towards DC. Yeah. No, I was like the whole time I was just kind of looking at that ejection thing going, and I told the pilot beforehand, I'm like, you had to go and do the learn, and I was like, I'm not pulling that. If we're 4 feet off the ground and we're going Mach 1 right into it, I'm going to just hope that you get me out of that situation. I think they can push you out from the front. They definitely can. Yeah. In fact, I asked him, he's a friend of mine, he's an author now, Jack Stewart. And I said, so if I pull, is it going to throw you out? And he kind of was like uncomfortable for a couple of seconds. He's like, ordinarily, yeah, I've actually turned it off to where if you dump yourself out. Have you seen the recent video of the F-15? Yes. And I immediately sent it to him. And I was like, who loves you, baby? So glorious. Where the guy accidentally punched out? Is that that's a real rough day. God. That aircraft is not going to be flying for quite some time. And he was a backseater. Yes, it was I forget the exact terminology, but it's essentially, it might have been like a re-enlistment, like a bonus flight, essentially. Right. I guess he did fly for a few seconds. There was flight, I guess. Yeah, he got to do something. Here it is. Oh, boy. Oh my goodness. Poor guy. I mean, this is my nightmare. Yeah. He's already out. Yeah. Yeah, he's already out. Yeah. He's smoking back there. I love how I can appreciate how the pilot's just continuing to taxi along. Oh my God. Is that guy in the front seat going, I guess I got some paperwork? I don't know.
Let me see if I can find where he's actually ejecting.
I feel like there is a robust amount of paperwork for just about everybody involved. Maybe even the guy who filmed that. Yeah. Writing what they saw from the outside perspective. Yeah. That's an expensive mistake. Poor guy. I mean, I was just say poor guy. Also, I don't know don't touch the handle. Oh God. What's the last thing? It's the last thing you do before you take off is sort of like arm the seat.
I don't know if this is the same one, but it's.
There he goes. It's amazing.
What's he thinking right now?
It's amazing they function from 0-0.
Yeah, it is incredible.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Michael, I'm not going to lie. I could see you doing something like that.
Yeah, so you're going to take me on a jet ride?
No. I'm just saying I could see you arming the handle and then asking yourself, didn't he say was it twist then pull or pull then twist?
Have to test it out.
And the next thing you know, you're just...
Wonder what this does.
He got like 3 seconds of flight out of that. You know what I mean? So technically he did leave the ground. Yeah.
Oh my God.
When did your first book hit the bestseller list?
So my first book was The Greyman, and it did not.
I don't mean sequentially. I mean like what book for you was your first one?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So really my first Tom Clancy, first book I wrote with Tom Clancy, hit number 1. And that was in 2011. I knew there was an asterisk because it was his name that made it hit number 1.
Who gives a shit?
No, and that's exactly what my editor said. He's like, well, you've always got, you will forever have that next to your name. And then, my 6th Greyman novel hit the Times list.
With just straight your name.
Just straight my name. And then they've all hit since. And
how does that feel?
It's great. The landscape has changed so much. There's so much TikTok promotion of certain genres of books.
Are you being serious when
I'm
you say
completely
actual
being
TikTok?
serious. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's some authors that'll be on the Times list for 2.5 years, or like 180 weeks with
for
one
the same
book.
title.
Yeah, and they'll have 4 or 5 titles on the.
BookTok.
I wanted to watch somebody else pop out.
I mean, if you trust me, you can guide Michael. He can be your weapon. You can fly him like that F-18.
Are you talking about those like smut books, basically?
Yeah.
Oops.
Go back to that. I've never heard of BookTok, which that is TOK for the listening audience. It's TikTok with the book.
Yeah, and it's completely changed the Times list.
A massive influential sub-community on TikTok focused on sharing, reviewing, and this digital world where the short form content is so easy to share.
Yeah.
It's, why can't they tell you what it takes to end up on the list?
Yeah. It's a closely held secret.
Why?
I don't know.
The numbers seem to be opaque. The
Yeah.
genre of book, sometimes it has a better chance than others. The release time. Why is this so opaque?
I don't know. And I don't.
And who does it favor by being opaque like that?
I don't. And I've never heard anybody in the industry who seemed to know, any more than I do. But yeah, I've hit number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5. I think my first time I was like number 13, and then it was like number 7, then it was number 5. And I hit number 1 4 or 5 books back. And since then, things have really, really changed. So I can 3 or 4 authors are going to have like 4 or 5 of the top 15. And there's 15 on the list. And, and I'm happy to be on the list. And I
didn't realize 3 or 4 authors were monopolizing that much space.
Yeah. That's nothing against them. I mean, if I was in their situation, I'd be pretty happy. But I mean, there's just less room for other genres because some genres just don't, TikTok doesn't move the needle for.
Are there different genres on the New York Times bestseller list? Like, is there one for say fiction? Do they separate fiction and nonfiction?
They separate fiction and nonfiction. Okay. They also separate combined ebook and hardcover, and then just specifically, and then just specifically hardcover. But they don't say like this is thriller or this is romance or romantasy or all these other different.
So what's
mystery.
going on here? Is there some skiff at the New York Times where somebody's down there?
I don't know.
A hamster running on a wheel, just spitting out 3x5 cards.
I have never had a Greyman book on there for 2 weeks. So I've hit number 1, and
then it was off the next week.
And the next week it's not even in the top 15. So
what?
Yeah, but I'm not complaining. I'm very thrilled to be there. And I have some friends that are fantastic writers and doing very well. And then one year, one of their books won't hit the list. So you just never know. I know to never take it for granted. Mm-hmm. I think I hit number 2 last year and couldn't have been happier.
How does it change your life, or is there any appreciable difference? Or is it just a nice reward for yourself or recognition for what you wrote?
I think it's important for the publisher, and for me, just raw sales is what I want. And you just want eyeballs on your book.
For sure.
The 20 years.
You're not writing it for it to gather dust.
Yeah. The 20 years I was writing before anybody read my stuff, you dream about, having people read your stuff. So it's like, there's never a number where you're like, oh, I've got enough people reading my stuff. And my sales have gone up every year. Yeah. I won't say I've maxed out in this genre, but I mean, I want to write some, slightly out of genre at some point, just to, and I'll do that next year to kind of like, see if I can pull in some new readers to write something a little bit different. But, I'm lucky to be here. I thought I understood some sort of not formula, but I thought I understood what it takes. And I have friends who have had books out, and I go like, that guy is every bit as good as me. Like, why is he not taking off like I have? And I have no idea.
The publishers can't tell you either.
No.
I don't understand how this system that carries a lot of gravitas with it.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody somewhere, I'm assuming, knows how this works. I'm assuming they're at the New York Times, but it is fascinating.
I mean, if they were at the New York Times and they knew how to sell books, they'd probably leave the New York Times and start a publishing company. You know, it's like,
then where is this warehouse? Where is this knowledge center or decision maker? It's a kingmaker to a degree.
You said opaque. It is very, yeah. I don't really know, but I mean, it's like when you're creating art, people, you know, you've been to an art gallery and you've seen like a streak of black paint on a white thing and go like, well, that's bullshit.
Like, yeah, but then the $13 million painting.
Exactly. You know, and I still, you know, go like, okay, that subjectively, that's, you know, objectively, that's terrible. But like, it's the same thing with any type of art, I guess, you know, it's just what people are interested in. And I don't ever write my books going like, well, this will get me new readers by turning the story in this direction or having the character do this. I feel like that would be cheating readers. You know, it's like you're trying to
do the opposite of getting you new readers.
Yeah. I think it would kind of destroy things. I'm like, kind of like, I'm going to keep trying to execute what I think would be cool and fun and interesting and explore different things and desperately try to not write the same book twice. And that's the tough thing at this point in my career. If I think up something cool, I have to go, okay, have I done that in one of my previous 27 books or is this new? And, you know, that's what I'm struggle with most, probably not treading over ground I've treaded over.
27 is quite a dossier.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Clancy? I mean, he has got to be one of in the modern era, I'm not obviously talking like historical writers, but he's got to be one of the most recognizable names in literature.
Yeah, yeah. He was the biggest for a while. He was bigger than Stephen King for, you know, a period of time.
Yeah.
And I got the call. I had 2 paperback books out. I had turned in my 3rd book. I was waiting to hear from my editor. And I got a call from my agent, and he's like, "Are you sitting down?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "How do you feel about co-authoring the next Tom Clancy novel?" And I remember just thinking like, why can't I co-author the next like guy who's like one step above me instead of like, why does it have to be Tom Clancy? I was so scared. And at one point they were like, you know, you're going to go to Baltimore and meet him. And I just remember just being like, oh my God, this is like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is freaking me out. But I was like, you can't say no to this, obviously.
No, I feel like the answer to that question is, don't ask me stupid questions. Just put me down in the hardest of yes columns.
Yeah, but I wish manly wise, I wish that's what I said. I mean, I remember just going like, oh my God.
That's like looking at the Grand Canyon thinking you might broad jump across.
Yeah.
Especially at the point where you were at, where
Exactly.
you had some books out, but not as proven as where you were.
I'd never had a hardcover book at that stage in my career.
Yeah, and that dude is on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
That's on top of the mountain.
Yeah. But I was a huge fan of his, and my editor knew that. And I remember it wasn't like you're being offered the job. It's like, do you want to have your hat thrown in the ring? And I was like, yes. And it was taking a while for them to decide, you know, if I was the guy or not. So just on my own, I said, what if I do a tryout? What if I write like 50 pages like it's a Tom Clancy novel, just so I can show everybody I know who Chavez is, and I know who Clark is, and I know, you know, Clancy's relationship with his wife, or Jack Ryan's relationship with his wife.
Also, that what you just described is probably the best test as to whether or not it's going to work in the long run anyway.
Exactly.
They should have had everybody do that.
Yeah, exactly. So I just did it on my own, and I gave it to my agent, and I said, should we give this to the editor? And he's like, yeah, this is terrific. So I wrote this like fake scene that took place in an airplane over Paris where they're like halo jumping into the Place de la Concorde because the American embassy or consulate is right there, and it had been taken over by terrorists. And there was no beginning, no ending. It was just this thing. And I gave that to them, and then I went and met Tom and had the job. But again, it wasn't going to be something I could talk about until like a month before it came out. And this was like February, and the book came out in December. So that whole year I was working on that book and just really just sweating bullets. But it was called Locked On, the first one I did with him. And then we did 3 books. And then the third one was called Command Authority. And it was about Russia invading Ukraine and taking over Crimea. And it came out.
What year did you write this?
It came out in December of 13, and that happened in February of 14. And Tom sadly passed away in October of 13. So he just like 2 months before the book came out. And then really quickly, the family asked me if I would keep writing the Jack Ryan series. So I did 7 in 6 years, and I was, and I said, it's time to get some new blood in here because I had.
You intuitively knew it?
Yeah. And I was like, this isn't a money thing. This isn't anything like that. This is just, I feel like I have said the stuff I know how to say in this world right now. And I kind of knew like at some point I'm going to want to do another one. And the idea of it is always appealing to me, but they've gotten other great authors to continue that series.
How was he as a person to work with?
So,
was he what you thought?
So he was not what I thought, because I'd sort of been warned that he was real cantankerous, and I'm using words like cantankerous to avoid using other words.
Of that age and generation, when you say cantankerous, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But he wasn't. I mean, it was a very cool experience to meet him and to be around him. And I think I instantly went up to Baltimore, and I was supposed to talk to him for like 45 minutes, just shake hands and whatever. And I think I was there for like 5 hours and had lunch with him and his wife, and I had to go get on a plane. And it was really a good experience. Now, there was never a point where I felt like, these are two peers talking about, their craft. He was the master, and I was, he was talk about like, and I was sitting there having lunch with Frederick Forsyth. And I was like, like when he was a young author, and he was talking about the same thing. And I was going like, this isn't really like that, because I'm so new at this. And
how do you think he felt about it? Do you think he looked at you as a peer?
Honestly, probably not. I mean, he looked at me as a guy that was going to do some heavy lifting, and I came highly recommended, from the publisher, and they, obviously read what I'd written. And so I think he was hopeful. I think he thought, it was funny when I first went into his office, he's like, so what are we going to talk about? He's very kind of cantankerous. And I just, I was like, do I just sit here and like kiss his butt? I was like, I'm not really going to do that. So I was just like, here's ideas I have. And, I've just I did say I was a big fan. And at one point he said, the best thing I ever wrote was, I can't remember what he said. And I was like, I got to disagree with you. The best line ever I read in a Clancy book was about John Clark, who was a Navy SEAL. Yeah. And he was talking to another guy who's in the Navy. And then the guy, Clark, said, well, I was in the Navy. He said, oh, what were you on? He's like, my belly most of the time. I just thought it was a really good line. I was like, that was just like a great line. That was like 6 words say more than than 6 words. And we got along really good, and it was great to work on the series. And when he passed away, so I didn't do any promotion when he was alive, because they're not going to send me out as the co-author. But after he passed away, the first book that I did, I started to do promotion for the Tom Clancy books, which was awkward because you'd go to sign it at a military base, and the niece of somebody, some military officer sees you at the PX, and it says Tom Clancy, new book. It had my name on there, but nobody sees that.
Second billing.
And they would come up, oh, Mr. Clancy, my uncle loves you. He's going to love this book. And I'm like, I can't really sign his name, so I have to explain that I'm not that guy.
You should have gotten a stamp.
Yeah. But when I went out, I was sure that people were going to be so grumpy, because Tom had just passed, and I was going to continue the Jack Ryan series. And I knew I was going to get like tomatoes thrown at me at these book stops. And it was exactly the opposite. It was people going like, thanks for keeping these characters alive, and thanks for, representing them the way that they should be represented. I never tried to write like Tom Clancy, because that would have been, it wasn't my job. It was keeping those characters alive in contemporary situations that were happening in the world that Tom wasn't able to, have Jack Ryan in. And so, as long as people want to read those books, I hope and imagine they'll keep putting them out.
I don't think if you had tried to write in his style, it would have worked. I mean, there are a few people out there that I truly think they break the mold with. Yeah. That man may have been one of them. Yeah. And I remember talking to him and saying something like, well, when you started this genre, this techno-thriller genre, he's like, I didn't start the techno-thriller genre. And he kind of talked like that. Like he was just a little snappy, but not
rude, you know.
Cantankerous, if
Yeah,
you will.
cantankerous. I'm like dialing it back, and then I'm saying, well, that's exactly what he was. But he's like, Michael Crichton started that. I just made it about espionage and military. And I thought that was good. You know, that made sense. Jurassic Park and all those great Michael Crichton books that were that level of depth. And you couldn't write a Tom Clancy novel like Sum of All Fears or something and put it out today, because he got so deep into the, you know, the minutia of stuff.
That one is one where the book is far superior than the movie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know Ben Affleck. I'm not throwing shade at you. He did a great Batman. That book is so much more deep and complex than the movie. But again, 90 minutes to unpack.
Sure.
God knows what the word count on that was.
It's good, well over 200,000. I just know from writing 200,000 word books that one's probably longer than anything I've written.
What did he think about his volume of work? Looking back.
That's a good question. I don't know. We never talked about it like that. I remember asking him if he had like a long storyline when he wrote his first book, because his first book, Red October, takes place after the events that are in Patriot Games, which is his third book.
Oh, that's right.
If you remember that.
Does.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been able to say that unless you had reminded me of that. But
And I was like, did you see that? And he's like, yeah, absolutely did. And I think a lot of authors would say that. I'm like on panels at writers' conferences, and I hear authors say things, and I go like, I don't believe that guy. That happens all the time. But it's like,
it's
I believe
a good crowd answer, though.
Yeah. But I
Just
totally
work in the crowd, Mark.
I totally believe that when Clancy said it. And, you know, with me, I was just trying to be a published author. Like, I didn't see it as a series. And they came to me and they're like, do you want to write 2 more in the series? I was like, yeah. What do you want them to be about? And they're like, you got to think that up, dude. You're the writer. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's how that works. But yeah, Clancy, I don't know what he thought about it. I mean, I'm sure he was super proud of it, and probably cantankerous to anyone who would who didn't like him. I know that he had talked to me about getting emails from people that complained about something and about how he would sort of like put them in their place or set them right. He kind of enjoyed that.
Can you imagine the stones on somebody to reach out to, again, a guy who his mountain sits on top of the mountain of published authors in that genre, to give him feedback and then just get this scolding avalanche of boulders right on your face?
That's probably what they wanted. Who knows? But yeah, no, I have a book that came out in 2009 that's got 3 or 4 errors in it, and I'll get an email this week from somebody that goes like, oh, by the way, the capital of Botswana is this, and you have that, and I'm going like, did you not see this book 17 years old? You really think you're the first guy to tell me that? It's like,
they did not see that the book was 17 years old.
Yeah,
they probably saw it as a next selection in their Audible, clicked on it.
Maybe so.
And for whatever reason, they are an expert on Botswana and decided to share that expertise with you.
And I still know why I messed that up, because it's like I changed the country where this guy was from Liberia to Botswana. And I just went into the Word document and changed it from Liberia to Botswana, forgetting that I'd used the capital city once.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, well, you're forever condemned to get those emails.
The internet is savage.
Yeah.
They will catch the smallest of mistakes, and you will be judged with a scrutiny that nobody could survive, let alone the person critiquing you.
Yeah, you get the smarmiest emails like, oh, you have a handgun round that's going supersonic. Like, you pretend like you know anything about guns, and you're going like, do I even respond to this guy?
No.
You don't. Early in my career, I kind of did. You know, you kind of would go like, I'm going to turn this guy around. And then
you're not going to.
You're not going to.
They're actually not engaging with you because they want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
They want to hear what they have to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they get something out of that. And my wife always says like, don't ever fuel
the trolls.
Yeah. Fuel the trolls. And then every now and then I go like, what would you do if because my wife paints. I'm like, if you started getting emails of somebody to go like, that's not blue or whatever. She's like, oh yeah, I'd be so annoyed.
Yeah. What do you like to do outside of writing? Even though I'm going to be honest, it sounds like you don't have a lot of excess time outside of writing.
You know, it's full. I write a lot, but I got married 5 years ago. And so suddenly I had 3 stepkids.
That is a jarring difference from being a single person.
It was a huge change in my life. Nothing but good.
My wife is in the exact same situation you're in, but reverse.
Right. Okay. Yeah. How many kids?
3.
Oh, really?
What do you got? Boy, boy, girl, girl, boy, boy?
A 21-year-old stepdaughter, an 18-year-old stepdaughter, and a 16-year-old stepson.
22, 20, and 17. We
are
living parallel
super
lives.
Close.
Boy,
man.
boy, girl on my side.
Okay. Yeah. I got girl, girl, boy. Yeah. And then, we have 4 dogs. I had 2 dogs.
What type?
All rescues. So
No,
big old mess of everything. Yeah. I mean,
you can judge a man based off his dog choice.
Yeah. I didn't choose these guys. These
Do
are
you have any hairless cats? Because I'll have to ask you to leave.
No, I don't have a hairless cat. If we don't have any cats, I think they would be ripped
good.
limb for limb.
That's good.
We have 4 dogs that are in control of things. Now, a big 110-pound looks like a lab, but in Memphis, everything's got pit in it. Where I live, there's pit bull in every dog that's on the streets, and all these dogs are off the streets. So there's like Australian shepherds and Catahoulas and all these sort of mixes, but they're all just.
Pit
and then we
mix,
we foster dogs too. So there's a lot of dogs around our life, but we do that, and we like to travel, and I like to read and watch movies. And there's not a whole lot. I shoot a lot and work out. That's about it.
How'd you meet your wife?
I met my wife. I had gone through a divorce.
We are living more parallel lives than you can possibly
So I've been divorced
imagine.
for a year. And
You had been divorced for a year? Holy shit.
are you seriously? Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And I always say, like, if I met her like a month early, it would have been too early. And I met my wife, my current wife, at the right time. But I knew a lady in Memphis who she's like, well, when you're ready and you want me to fix you up with somebody, I know everybody in Memphis. And I'm just like going like, when are you not ready? But I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And then she basically was talking to one of her friends who was single, and she was just going like, there's nobody in Memphis. And she's like, I know somebody that's saying something to me about, being single or whatever. And so she actually first heard me on a podcast. So she said, "Is this guy, he's a writer, he's a friend of mine. Look him up." So she just Googled him, and she just listened to a podcast that I did and said, okay, he doesn't seem like all like arrogant or anything like that. So she reached out to me. So I just got a DM from this girl in Memphis.
She slid into your DMs.
She slid. Yeah. Neither of us knew that
Classic
term,
tale.
but yeah,
I didn't until recently.
Classic tale from the last 10 years.
Classic tale.
Yeah.
It's the modern day, Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Meet.
But we met sort of, I guess, a blind date, although there's social media. So we saw that.
Blindish.
Yeah. We saw that.
Like 50-50 vision.
Right. Yeah.
Or like maybe 2200.
That first date was like end of April, and I knew I was going to propose by the summer, and we got engaged the following January and got married 15 months after we met.
My first, how long were you married before you got divorced?
3 years.
19 years and 11 months. So
Wow.
our stories have diverged.
Yeah.
Here. I don't know about you, and I don't mean this negatively about the institution of marriage, and I don't mean this negatively about my ex-wife, but leaving that will make you question as to whether or not you would want to voluntarily enter into a system like that again.
Do it again. Yeah.
But the character of my wife and just who she is, there was no even inkling of doubt. Substantially better person than I am by every measurable metric.
Yeah. Yeah. I always try and think back, and I go, there was never a moment from when I met Allison that I wanted to be in another room with her. It's just like,
that's how you know it's your person.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I never went like, oh, what should we do? Should we get married? It was just like from the first date. It was I've never had an experience like that, obviously. Yeah. And if I had, I wasn't going to say it, but I mean, it's like, I immediately knew that, like we were kind of on the same boat, same path. And,
it's awesome.
We've been married 5.5 years.
Speaking of being on podcasts, how'd you like going on Joe's show?
I loved it. It was a really good experience. I was incredibly nervous.
Why? It's not, the audience isn't that big.
Well, that's
when did you go on?
It was. It's been almost 3 years.
Okay, yeah. Because I saw the video, but I didn't check it.
Less than 3 years, but not much less.
So he was in his new studio in Austin.
Yeah. It was down in Austin.
What a
it was great.
Ridiculously nice infrastructure he has set up.
Yeah. It was very cool. It was very laid back.
Yeah. He's the best.
Yeah. I went in there, and he came in a couple minutes later, and he's like, "You want some coffee?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Sorry, I'm going to take a piss, and we're going to," not unlike what's happened here today.
Yeah.
And then,
well, I mean, at some point you get to work,
But like we sit down, and then I'm like putting my headphones on. He's like, "So Mark, good." And I was like, "Oh shit, we're doing it. Okay."
Could you feel the gravity of that room?
Just
knowing that the audience is that size.
Yes. And that's what makes me nervous. And it's not like stage fright. It's like, am I going to say something that's going to be the wrong thing to say about a friend, or
those
you know
are
what
the
I mean?
exact thoughts that go through my head when I sit down with him as well.
Yeah.
I say, please don't say anything stupid.
Because
and then
are you going to forget the camera's on you? I'm
Yeah.
not thinking about the camera right now. I easily could go like,
Yeah. The problem is I tell myself that and then almost always immediately proceed to say something stupid.
yeah, you forget. I mean, that's you.
He's the GOAT. But he's really good at, one, he'll talk to anybody, which I appreciate. And he makes you feel comfortable, which I think is one of the biggest keys. If you get somebody in there and you can, it happens sometimes. I've had a few people on where you can tell, well, they'll tell you, because I'll ask them, hey, like, have you ever done a podcast before? And you can tell that they're super nervous.
Stiff, yeah.
But in 10 minutes, if you could just sit down and just
Right.
BS, and
Right.
like, maybe they're an author, maybe they're not. And you don't, it's like, knock the book over. Like, what do we
Yeah.
don't even talk
Yeah.
about? It's like, how was your trip out here? What do you think about Montana? And you get them going and it's like, whew.
Right.
He is the master of being
Yeah.
able to get people into that zone where they're just going to town. Plus his selection of guests, my God.
Yeah. I mean, and he was giving me supplements and I'm like taking them on camera.
First off, you better be careful with that.
I know. And it was weird because it's like, he's like, take 6. I was like, 6 really? And then like, he gave me the bottle to take home and I'm at the airport and it's like, take 2. Okay. Well, and then I was getting like emails from friends. They're like, were you okay? And I was like, that was fine.
Ish.
Yeah.
No, that room has some gravity to it for
Yeah.
sure. You can just, man, an audience of that size. I mean, traditional media at this point would kill
Absolutely.
to have an audience
And I mean,
of that size.
I won't say that it sold as many books as the movie did, but I mean, it was definitely, you could see
Yeah.
after it. It was a big bump.
The Rogan
I mean,
effect
this
is what they call it.
Like, I like to do media that I think is going to be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some like this was like, they asked me if they're like, okay, you're going to have to go to Montana. I'm like, that sounds awesome. I've never
Yeah.
been there. And I've watched you on Reels a million times, you know, like,
On Reels?
well, you know,
the
like
Instagram ones.
Yeah. Like, 30-second chunks.
Thanks, Michael.
wrong with
Mr.
that?
Short
Welcome.
form content over there. He just picks ones where I like have my eyes closed or it's a blurry camera. Or,
But since then, I've watched the show. I'm a fan. But it's you do a lot of media where you're going like, is anybody watching? But it's fun to do stuff that you want to do.
the barrier, I don't think I'm anybody in this space because I know I'm good. I'm so fortunate to be good friends with just behemoths in the space. And I have a rough idea of their numbers. And it's like,
Yeah.
we're both playing a ball sport. However, you're in the different league.
Yeah, but look at all the leagues under you. You know what I mean?
True.
The thousands. It's all.
And I'm
perspective.
appreciative of it.
Yeah.
I think it's good to not say yes to everything because
Yeah.
the reality is the barrier to entry is actually so low that almost anybody, if they wanted to, and I would never talk somebody out of trying it if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is not all are created equal, and it takes a long time to build a platform.
Sure.
So if you go and, we all only have so much time, right? If you
Right.
commit that to a platform that isn't going to be able to help you at all, an argument could be made.
Right.
Skip
Right.
it,
Yeah.
save your time.
Yeah. This was like, I looked at this as a cool chance to come out and meet you, go to Montana. And yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Although
You taking off tomorrow?
yeah, I spent most of the day in Starbucks working, but
That's an acceptable place to work. You could have gone over to the Black Rifle Coffee.
I know.
Made better Wi-Fi.
yeah, I wish they put me a little closer. I was on foot other than,
Yeah. Okay.
I had this, I'm going to say this about your town, and this is a good thing.
Okay.
I had an Uber driver from the airport to the hotel last night. The same Uber driver I had.
We have about 3.
Yeah.
Man or woman.
A male. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they'll give you a business card and just say, call me directly.
Really? Okay.
Which I don't know if that's legal,
Okay.
but
I have had that happen like in the Virgin Islands. I've never had that happen in America.
I tell people.
It doesn't look like that small a town though.
It's not that small.
Geographically.
Geographically, it's spread out quite
Yeah,
a
it
bit.
looks spread out.
And people actually argue about how many people live up here. In the summer months, it's hopping because
Really?
Glacier National Park is just to the northeast.
Yeah.
The Glacier Airport, the one you flew into,
Yeah.
gets its name, I think, from Glacier National Park, which is a 20-minute drive from the airport.
Yeah.
Summer months, there's millions of people passing through.
Yeah.
Winter months, lower holding capacity. 40 to 60,000 people. So the Uber
That's
pool,
significant.
for Montana, it's not bad.
Yeah.
But the Uber pool is thin.
Your airport has a bear spray rental
It does.
kiosk.
Yours does not?
Mine does not.
Are you even living life appropriately if your airport doesn't have a firearm rental or like bear spray?
Yeah. We have other dangers where I
Yeah.
live, but yeah.
No, in the summer months, there are the signs then move them towards the security, like do not check your bear spray.
There you go.
Do not have bear spray. And there's another one on there that I don't get. Not only can you not have bear spray in your checked or your carry-on, you also cannot have huckleberry jam.
Huckleberry jam?
Correct.
Oh.
As ridiculous as that sounds.
Okay, so I was in Guatemala once, and I was getting on a plane to come back, and they stopped me and pulled me aside, and I had bought some jam or jelly for my aunt, but that is a liquid or substance or whatever.
I even think this sign says even under 3 ounces. I don't know if it like pops on their machines as an explosive, but I don't know how jam could do that.
Yeah.
It's
not
it's a very, huckleberries obviously don't grow everywhere. So they're kind of in the summer months. I mean, I think, Michael, have you ever gone and picked huckleberries?
Yes.
Yeah. People will sell gallon Ziploc bags for a pretty good amount of money. But then why can't you take a small amount of huckleberry jam on an airplane?
It's the huckleberry lobby that doesn't want that being
It probably does come down to that. What if you want to enjoy some huckleberries on your Biscoff? That would be a disgusting pairing, but whatever. A Biscoff cookie. You just want to dip it in.
On the aircraft, yeah.
I'm not going to tell people how to party. You know? I don't know. Yeah, it's...
Never had huckleberry. And this is where
Ever?
This is where you reach down and pull out a big thing of huckleberry jam. But
it's not in season, but I will send you some. I will send you some huckleberry stuff for sure.
I don't think I ever have.
How do you write? What's your process? I ask every author this because I tell you what, at this point, I've read everything from, I have an idea and I write that idea out and then I go both directions. They hop, they go sequentially.
Yeah.
What do you do? And also, do you lay it all out somewhere before or do you you're on typing?
I really wish I could lay it out better than I can. I do get a super, super rough thing. Not the whole story, but
do you do that digitally or you do like 3x5 indexes pinned
all
in?
digitally? I've never been able to do that. I've never been able to do the mind mapping or anything like that. I just open a Word document.
You're doing it in Word?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And it's not even, you wouldn't even be able to call it an outline. It's not like anyone else could take it and it'd just be like
random thoughts by Mark.
Yeah, it's just sort of random thoughts. Yeah. And then I just start writing and I don't write in order. Like I will have an idea for later in the book and I'll put down what I can put down. And I just try and do it every single day without fail. First thing in the morning, I try and write. I mean, there's, with a family, just like, things change, and I'm like, I was explaining to somebody who doesn't have kids. I'm like, you're never more than 5 seconds away from whatever your plan is, just being totally out the window. Because,
I would say 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, 2.5 seconds.
No, you're in the trenches for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah, there's never been anything that is not more important than my books, that's happened in that house. So it's, just everything else has to be taken care of, and then I work. But I try and do it first thing in the morning, and I just try and get I definitely read what I've written the day before, and that gives you a little bit of a boost because you're editing that.
A little momentum, if you will.
Yeah, a little bit of momentum, and then you can fix things, and then you feel like you've accomplished something. Like today, all I did was edit, the first 150 pages of the book, and I just went back and read over. I'm like, is this a little long? Is this? Sometimes you'll make some. The first parts of the book you might look at 350 times, and the last few chapters of the book you might look at 20 times.
Whatever.
Yeah, because you run out of time.
Right around the corner.
Yeah, and you always get all the writing advice is like, finish that book, put it aside for a few months, and then go back. It's like I don't have a few months. Yeah, I never work with that kind of room. I'm in a pretty good place with this year's book. Like I kind of know my players. It's like for me, when you're writing fiction, it's like if I know what the antagonists want, I can build a story. If the bad guys, if their plan or their want makes sense to me, I can sort of make everything else happen around it. And again, you don't want to repeat stuff you've done. I'm writing this book and the book I'm writing now. Both involve kind of an inside threat in the U.S. government, where I've written about China and Russia and North Korea and all these other things, the cartels. This book sort of involves, people within the government who are bad actors. And
outside influenced or American born and have their own ideas about how things should be?
Both.
Interesting.
Yeah, so definitely have their own ideas, but they're working with, an outside influence to, further, they think they have control of the outside influence. The outside influence thinks they have control of them. And so, the way the way America is right now, I think there's a lot of paranoia and there's a lot of division. And honestly, it sort of reminds me of a 70s era movie like 3 Days of the Condor, or The Conversation, or The Parallax Effect, or any of those types of movies that are very sort of domestic threat type of stories. And it's very interesting to me to think about that stuff, but it also means you have to spend a lot of time looking at the news and
that's not healthy.
Deconflicting. Yeah, exactly. When you're talking about your screen time, I'm going like, I feel like I've got way too much, because you do spend a lot of time going like, I think facts these days, we're sort of in a post-fact time in America. And
well, I've never seen, I'm not going to say that I've been a student of traditional media sources my whole life. I definitely can't say that. I paid very little attention to it while I was in the military. Not an immense amount even when I got out, because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next and how I was going to do it. But I don't understand how we've gotten to a place where you could pick a news station on the left and a news station on the right, and they could cover the same topic, but it looks diametrically opposed.
Yeah. They're curating what you want to hear.
And so people are now, they think they're well informed, but what they're doing is they're only paying attention to one source of information.
Absolutely.
So they're not well informed. They're in an echo chamber, but they think that they are operating off of truth or fact, which I would argue we can't even agree what that is in society anymore. Right. And then the bigger question is, where the hell does that go? If you can't agree upon what truth is and what facts are.
Yeah. And it is very scary. And it's also, I mean, I agree with you. I have been a big media person my whole life. My dad was the head of the local NBC affiliate in Memphis. So I just grew up in the news. Yeah. Like I had a subscription to The Economist and US News when I was like 15. Like I was just into that sort of thing. And I've never seen it like this. Now, then you would get whatever bias, those publications have versus other publications. But now, you've got people that just absolutely can scream in your face, Pizzagate or whatever the thing is on the other side. Yeah. And
some of it, I think, is actually intentionally a distraction, because they can distract you. Yeah. I mean, I don't know where it leads. Yeah. I don't know where it goes. It doesn't seem to be de-escalating. If anything, it seems to be escalating. To what, though, I don't know. Well,
you see the people like the Russians have weaponized this stuff to a large degree. Yeah. And that's not to say the Chinese haven't. It's not to say we haven't in other countries. I mean, the CIA was, doing stuff in Central America in the 50s,
How dare you, sir?
Controlling the media. So, but at the same time, you go like, wow, the influence of bad actors, we as a people are sort of playing right into their hands. And, you wonder how much of this is going to get tracked back to something, or is that just a big conspiracy theory too? Anything can be made to look ridiculous and anything can be made to look valid by the media, that comes, because everything sort of comes in the same font. Yeah. If every rage, merchant out there, their writing on your phone was in bright red blood, and you saw them there with gravy on their undershirt, which is how they're writing it, you would discount them immediately. But you don't. Everything kind of looks the same, and then you read it, and
or it's a meme that you are
exactly
your facts and truth from.
It's just so perfect because it's the 6 words that completely, it's just cohesive of what you want the world to be. And I run into that a lot. And, people treat me, my books aren't political at all. I think people of all walks of life like them. But I mean, I'm kind of against Russia taking over Ukraine and kidnapping the kids, which is a hot take for a lot of people,
I don't think kids should be kidnapped. I think that's a general stance that a lot of people could get behind.
Hot take, dude.
Really?
Yeah. No, I mean, I did a book called Burner that involves what's going on in Ukraine. It was all tons of research, and it didn't take place in Ukraine, but it involved sort of like Russian FSB and GRU operations in Europe. You know, it's all very documented stuff, and people, you know, a lot of people just thought that politically made me like left wing, you know, which is crazy to me. It's insane to me. But I've sort of been a conservative my whole life. But, you know, it's just the way that people frame things now based on the rage merchant that's screaming at them, you know.
That's one of the things I think I missed the least. I was still, so what
when you stopped absorbing so much?
Well, the key for me was taking, you know, I didn't erase any of the apps on my phone. I left all that stuff on there, but I started making the intentional choice of, if I want to get onto social media and post something, because it's kind of, it to a degree, it is part of what I do. So I need to exist there a little bit, but I'm going to do it off of my laptop. And I tell you what, it's a way different, way less sticky experience that is harder to get stuck in a time suck.
Yeah. I took Twitter off my phone a while ago.
Force it if you can. If you want to try, force it to your computer. I would get on there, and it's just way less simple. It's way less streamlined. It's a little bit more clunky.
Right.
And it's, you know, this with the thumb and just sitting there and like, where'd that 30 minutes go?
Yeah.
I found that I had way more time for activities.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was way less of the rage merchant as well. And I didn't feel any less informed. Mm-hmm. I would still know wave top things that were happening. I also didn't feel any less connected.
Right.
Because the people I'm really connected with have my phone number.
Right.
And then Apple CarPlay was registering as screen time. So anytime I would drive, it was so. And on CarPlay, I don't do a whole lot other than navigate. But when I'm local here in town, I was like, I know where I'm going. And this was a bet with my friend. I'm like, how dare you add 40 minutes to my time? I must have victory over my friend because I'm obviously a better caliber of person. So sometimes, you know, you get the text messages that pop up and you can, you know, voice text back and all those things and answering phone calls. It's like, screw it. I'm just going to disconnect CarPlay. I'll leave my phone connected with Bluetooth. And then I realized, wow, I was doing a lot of texting while driving by hitting just that button. Mm-hmm. And none of it was essential. Right. Anybody who needed to get a hold of me could still call through. So that drastically helped too. It was more than anything, it was forcing. And then I have an F-150 and it has a little, in front of the cup holders, a little section that slides forward and there's a charging pad down there, which charges about 1% every 4 days.
Yeah. I have a Tahoe, the same thing. Yeah.
Why even tease me with that?
I know.
Yeah, you could have I actually think it's about 1% per 4 days. That's what it's published at. I would put my phone in there and I would close it. Forcing myself, I was putting barriers in, because when I first started, man, it was, I didn't realize how often I would just pick up my phone.
It's a drug,
well, why am I doing this? I ended up with a lot of time asking myself, why am I using this device this way? Yeah. Or is this device using me? Yeah. You know, like, who's working for who here? Right. And by being way more intentional about it, I slept better. I felt bombarded by negativity far less. Yeah. And I was way more strategic. Like if I was going to make an Instagram post, I'm like, all right, I got to get this to my laptop, type it away, boom, done. Not a bunch of time looking in comments or stuff. Like, you could check your direct messages and stuff like that. But it was just clunky enough. Yeah. It's like, I should probably go put the dishes away. Yeah. You know, or go do something more beneficial.
I used to opine a lot more on social media, and it's just such a time suck. Yeah, no, and it wasn't even what I thought was political, but I mean, I feel like I'm in this space where things that happen in international affairs, you know, I write about them, I research them, you know, it's like I'm interested in them, but it's basically anybody will turn anything into political, and I will come back from posting something that I think is just nothing, and there'll be 134 comments. People are mad at each other. People are mad at me. You know, they're like, oh, you write these books, but you're, you know, whatever, a left-wing cuck or whatever. And it's like,
one of my favorites, classic.
Yeah. And I was like, no, I was just saying that the way that Article 5 of the NATO Charter is structured is the 2%, you know, and I'll say something like that. And people go like, yeah, we'll vote for Hillary then. Why don't you, you know, whatever.
Have you ever heard of the dead internet theory?
Dead internet? No.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. We did it. We're into 2026, through the holiday season. And if you're anything like me, especially in years past, you know, the holidays can be a little bit rough. There's stress, there's buildup, there's anxiety, and there's no better time to check under the hood to see how you're doing than in January. Start your new year off by reinvesting in yourself. I've had a lot of problems in my life, some of them small, some of them big. Some of them I had the answers to and the tools that allowed me to be capable to work through them, and others I didn't, and I needed to reach out to a higher level of care. In the digital world that we live in, you are always going to have access to talk to somebody, even if you live geographically very remote. So with BetterHelp, there's over 30,000 therapists. It's the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works. With an App Store rating of 4.9 out of 5 based on over 1.7 million client reviews. It's extremely convenient. You can join a session with a click of a button from your mobile device, so it fits right into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/clearedhop. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, Hotel Echo Lima Papa.com/clearedhot. Back to the show. There is a hypothesis that about 80% of the traffic online is actually bot driven.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And it's getting better and better and better too. Yeah. So now it's like bots arguing with bots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the dead internet theory, essentially most of what goes on.
I like that title. You've seen the bot forums, right? Haven't you seen the big racks of the phones?
Yes, I've had Michael pull them up. And it's like, this is who you're arguing with on the internet. Yep. Yeah, Michael, it's worth it. Pull that thing up again. This is the person. Yeah. And again, oh my God, look at this. The technology, the second one, oh God.
That just makes your blood pressure go up.
You know what this is a picture of? This is how you make the New York Times bestseller list. This is what's in the skiff in the NYT. Yeah. And if you pay somebody enough money, you get to download your book.
That is just crazy.
That's who you're arguing with.
Yeah, and I think Apple has got a incentive to keep this going.
I think anybody...
Because that hardware has to be purchased.
On that ecosystem.
Yeah.
Well... Somebody way smarter than me said it best. If it's free, you're the commodity.
Right.
And we don't pay for social media and all these platforms that we argue on. It's to monopolize and incentivize.
Do you remember those first couple of years when people were going like, "What are they getting out of this?" And it's
no, because I was a late adopter. I didn't even.
You were in the military.
I didn't even think about social media until like 2015. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, those first few years, I think there was a lot of things that people going like, "What are they doing?"
They're prepping the battle space.
Yeah. And then people felt like they owned social media and, kind of like, what are my rights on social media? And I was just kind of going like,
you didn't read the fine print, did you?
I think we're all being pulled into this. It's like, it's a highway that everybody feels like they have to drive on suddenly. And we don't own the highway. There's a toll.
I felt that way the first week of January. And I constantly reminded myself feeling like this and interfacing with all this, even though it's free, is voluntary.
This is about Venezuela or
no, just the social media.
Is that when you did that?
Yeah, no, in January, the first week in January. Yeah. Venezuela was also voluntary.
Yeah.
It was a choice, an interesting choice. God, so many people have asked me, they're like, what about the directed energy weapons? I'm like, listen, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never heard or seen any of those things. They also have said, how is it possible that a small amount of Delta Force operators could annihilate an entire building's worth of people? It's like, well, I don't think you know how good those guys are.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that is not a heavy lift.
It's fascinating that there's like 32 Cubans that they're admitting were killed in it. Yeah. And of course, we know that Cuba is very tied to Venezuela and have been using their oil to stay afloat for a long time. But like, it's very interesting to me. Yeah. And it's interesting how we sort of had the plan to put Rodriguez in and tell the woman who has the Nobel Peace Prize, forget about that. The fact that, her party is the one that won the election, and be like, yeah, she seems like a nice lady, but, I think we have a plan with Rodriguez, Delcy Rodriguez.
I think it'd be a good, sounds like a Greyman storyline.
It does.
I feel like there's some obstacles out there that your protagonist could, to navigate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the directed energy weapon, the Havana syndrome stuff has been going on since 2014.
I don't think they were hand carrying stuff like that on the ground. I think they were sticking with more ballistic devices.
I mean, from an airframe, right?
You can do it from. I mean, I know absolutely nothing about it.
I don't.
I'm so detached. I could see it honestly at this point. Yeah, from a manned or unmanned airframe. Yeah. If it's real, I have no idea whether or not it's real.
There's a great journalist named Michael Weiss who has been looking into Havana Syndrome the whole time, and they've pegged a couple of GRU guys, 29155 guys, using it in Frankfurt. No. I mean, they're very specific. Like a 29155 scientist, wrote a paper on directed energy weapons and got paid for it. So it's like they know a lot about this stuff, but as far as like us having it and employing it, I have no idea. It seems like if I was like one of the Venezuelan security guys that lost the president, I'd probably be saying something like, oh man, there was something from space that just knocked me on my ass.
Which is probably what that raid felt like, actually.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's incredible.
Do you think they're going to make more with the Greyman movie? Obviously, they made that. It's out on Netflix. People can watch it. I watched it last night. I get Captain America's He's being naughty. Naughty Captain America with a mustache. Not too dissimilar to yours, Michael, I might say. Which is why I tell you should shave
looks
that
really
off.
good.
It is. Evil. Yeah, that could be his stunt double right there.
Damn right.
I don't know. The physique of Captain America and Michael are...
I think I need to hop on some juice to get Captain America's physique.
As long as you're not talking about carrot, then yes. Because you're going to need the prescription size. Do you think they'll make another one? Do they have the ability to do so?
So Netflix owns it. I don't think they'll make it with the same directors and the same and Gosling, just because like he's doing Star Wars now and they're doing Marvel films now. Yeah. I hope it comes back in another, format, but I don't think that they will. I could be way wrong. I didn't know they were going to do this one until like it was in Deadline or Variety or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like you said, they bought the rights to it, so I guess there's no duty to inform.
Yeah, my agent out there in LA was like, "Hey, Ryan Gosling is really interested in it." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'd heard that about like 10 other actors in 10 years before that, so I really wasn't even that paying attention to it." And then suddenly it happened. So I don't know. Anything could happen, but it's not on the horizon.
What do you think you'd be doing with your life if you didn't write anymore?
I think I would be writing unsuccessfully if I wasn't writing successfully. I really do.
You missed the second part of that question, which is if you're not writing anymore.
If I stopped writing. I don't know. I mean, I worked in the medical device field for a long time, and I wasn't in love with it. I benefited from it. I got hurt and I had some back surgeries, and I was like, hey, I'm glad I work in this industry right now because it's helped me. But I liked international sales. I mean, I like the international aspect of it. I like traveling. I liked studying foreign languages. I like meeting people from other places and cultures. So, I mean, I just feel like writing is the only thing that I'm any good at. So it really is a tough question. But, I think I would do something. Like if I had my life to live all over again, it's like I go like... I didn't have a wide view when I was younger. Like I learned to scuba dive, and my dive instructors like in the Bahamas are like 22, 23 years old. I'm like, I didn't know you could do this when you were 22. I thought you just went to college. That was 13th grade and 14th grade. And then you got a job and you worked in an office your whole life. And I literally had no bigger horizon than that when I was younger. And it's unfortunate. And I see like all these young people doing interesting things. And I go like, wow, I wish I thought about that. But, now I'm 58 and it's like, I'm looking to, I want to write as long as I can because I really enjoy doing it. And the rest of the time, I just want to be around my family and my dogs. And I don't know, I'd probably maybe have a dog foster or dog thing. Although I'd probably hate that.
I don't know.
Because I step in the dog poop some days and I'm like, yeah.
You can outsource that.
Hire a service. I could own, yeah.
When are you going to kill off the Greyman? How do you know when it's time to kill him? It's been the same character through all 15, right?
Yeah, the same lead character through all 15.
His luck may have run out.
It could always run out. I like to. I've done a lot of research with the, battlefield medicine and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so I like to work.
Stuff, yeah.
I like to work that stuff into the story. So I mean, he's had horrible things happen to him, and other people have, because I like to not ignore that in the story. So I mean, I guess one day he could just flatline, I suppose, but. I like doing them. I've never been one of those authors that only wants to write one thing. And I really have written a lot of these books, but I wrote I co-authored a novel with a Marine lieutenant colonel called Red Metal. It came out in 2019. He was active duty then. It was about a Russian invasion of Europe and Africa, actually. And we're contracted to write another one of those. So I'm excited to work on that at some point. There's other things I want to write. so I always kind of feel like I'm going to go back to the Greyman after a pause. I mean, he could die off. I mean, it could end.
Could you kill him and restart him with another character in there? How do you think, would the audience accept that?
I don't think so. Because
that'd be a hard writer left-hand turn.
I'm not thinking about what the audience has told me. I'm just thinking about me as a consumer and a fan of these type of books. You know, it's like if Jack Ryan died and Bob Ryan, his cousin, you know, took over.
Yeah, like second cousin that he never really knew.
Yeah, exactly. And you just kind of introduce him in the last act.
Who just happened to also have the same career path as him.
He has this certain set of skills. I don't know that I would do that. I think the series will end either with him dying or him, you know, you always get the emails going, I just want to see him happy. Him and Zoya, that's his girlfriend.
It's not a real person. People.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't want to read that book where he's cutting the grass and she's, you know, like, you know, she's got her online, you know, she's selling jewelry online, you know, like that. You might buy that book, but you wouldn't buy the one that came out after it, you know? So it's like the tension. I had an author friend, James Rollins, tell me once, he's like, when people tell you what it is they don't like about your books, they're really secretly telling you what it is they like about your books. It's like, oh, I hate how you know, keep something at the end till the very end of the story, or, you know, like
you gotta have suspension.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I think you're saying you like that. I mean, that tension bugs you or whatever, but you like it.
And it frustrates you, but yet you seem to keep coming back.
Yeah. And I would never end a book with an absolute cliffhanger, but I like kind of like telling the whole story and then setting up something else in the last couple of pages. And people will go like, oh my God, it's a cliffhanger. It's like, no, because you got you got the book. You got the 500-page story.
Pitch for what's next
exactly.
year.
It's a little bit of
it's a soft pitch.
It's a little bit of a tease for what's coming up next, which is kind of commits me to next year's book a little bit and maybe commits you to reading it. But, you know, it's like, I think I want to keep doing these as long as people want to keep reading them. So,
I mean, at least, you know, with writing, it's not like you're out there fighting somebody with a pugil stick. Yeah. You know, you can get a nice rocking chair and the newest MacBook Air, pretty light.
Yeah.
And just go to town, man.
Yeah. I used to want to be a soccer player when I was very young, and
shorter careers
was not good enough, but I'm going like, yeah, if I peaked at that job, I would have peaked at 28. I didn't even get published till I was 42. So it's a good thing that I'm doing this.
It's amazing though. God, how many people would have given up so far before 42? You know, like your writing career started early in your fourth decade, and there are some people, to include myself earlier in life, that thought life ended in your fourth decade.
And I did too.
Almost through it.
Yeah, I joke with my wife. I mean, this has been my 50s have been my happiest decade. I'm like, if you told 18-year-old me that things were really going to get good in your 50s, I'd be like, screw that. Yeah. Who cares?
Like, first off, no one lives that long.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't even know what you're talking about. But I mean, it is. It's like I look back on going like, you know, am I too old to do this? I'm the oldest person to ever been published at 42. It's ridiculous. I have friends that have been published in their 70s and, you know, or whatever. And it's not about how long you've been doing it. I have friends that are roughly my age that have been published for 35 years, you know, and since their early 20s.
That's wild.
Yeah. And
man.
But I couldn't, maybe if I'd done that, I would have burned out or run out of things to talk about.
I don't feel like you're going to burn out, man. Your volume of work, 27 in the canon on the shelves, is pretty impressive.
Thanks, man. Yeah. It's fun to do.
Give me the, because I know this comes out on the 17th, correct? Of February.
Yes.
So I'm going to release this episode the day before, Monday the 16th.
Terrific.
But we need to get people, what are they getting into?
Yes.
And why? Why, Mark, should they care about
this is a question people go like, "What? Tell me why to buy your book." And I'm like, well, I don't know if you should. I don't know if you like this type of book.
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm saying. That you can tell them what it's about and they can make up their own informed decision.
It's like my publicist going like, God, you suck at your job. I was like, no, I'll tell you why you should buy this if you enjoy this type of book. So it's the 15th book in the series. The hero's name is Court Gentry. He's known as the Greyman. He's a former CIA officer who is actually sort of pulled in at a very young age.
Does it follow the Greyman movie where he gets pulled out of prison?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Barely falls the Greyman movie, but that part.
Good old Billy Bob Thornton gives him some bubblicious.
Yeah.
That was the pitch.
Right. Yeah. You could watch the movie and see if the genre you like, but it's a lot grittier. It's closer to John Wick and less like a Marvel film or whatever. But yeah, so in this book, Court is working for a sub-Rosa unit called Ghost Town. that is working directly for the deputy director of operations of the CIA. And they're sort of all doing this under duress because of things that happened in earlier books, that they basically sold their souls to get some help from the CIA. And now the CIA sort of owns them. At the beginning of this book, you realize there's sort of a bad actor entity within the U.S. government that has brought some foreign assassins in that are killing off intelligence professionals in the D.C. area. And so Ghost Town Court and Ghost Town are sort of the only unit that hasn't been kind of compromised by this group that has sort of intelligence on what's going on in America. And so Court and his group have to go in. One of the 5 assassins who's brought in is a Northern Irish assassin named Whetstone. That's his code name. His name's Campbell Coyle. And he's a former IRA assassin, and Court killed his son. And so Whetstone is doing this for completely personal reasons. So
it's powerful motivation.
It's a very personal story. It involves Court's father. It involves Zach Hightower, who's the Navy SEAL guy that's in the book. His daughter, who he hasn't seen since she was a little kid, is in the book as well. So it's kind of an interesting story that takes place over different. It takes place in the present, but the children and the parents of the characters are involved, even the villains. So it's kind of like it's as action packed as anything I've written, but it's got a lot more kind of depth and nuance than some of my earlier works.
What does sub rosa mean?
Just below, under the radar, covert.
So, okay.
Clandestine, of covert.
Well, I'm going to say that from now on. Now, sub rosa, I'll be using that term probably daily.
Yeah.
You're talking about cutout organization entities that,
Yeah. So not like within the director of operations, but
I'll just say there's a reason that the DoD has never passed a budget review and audit. Real hard to track money that is intentionally designed to be obfuscated.
Exactly. All that Title 10 stuff and Title 50 stuff.
Oh, like blends.
Yeah.
And those systems, if you know how to work those systems, you're never going to run out of money.
Yeah, I'm sure. And there's hallways with doors and that lead to nowhere, that money's being sent somewhere else. I had a book once, the U.S. intelligence community, which is like 800. It was like the Bible, and it was like every organization and everything. And it, I got it for research, but I was going like, I can't really use this stuff because it's so opaque and so
by design.
Yeah, by design.
I don't think it when those systems were created, it was, I think, with the express intent and purpose of making sure that people, even under the hardest level of scrutiny, they would either hide behind national security or classification, or even if they had to pierce those things, it would be impossible to track.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but our government has shown pretty shitty track record with our money.
Yeah, for sure.
I say that based off of a really large number that I don't even understand what $1 trillion is to begin with. Like mathematically, I know what it looks like, but I can't even fathom that, let alone high 30s of those. That's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a real big problem.
Yeah. I mean, we used to be, well, I don't think we were ever fiscally responsible, but I think it's just gotten to where like, just spend as much as you can.
I mean, no, and then the first thing seems to be, instead of fixing the systems, let's tax more. I'm like, listen, you've shown me that you're not a good steward of the amount of money that I give you now.
Yeah.
Your answer is give you more?
Yeah. No tax ever goes away. Even like city taxes, when they're like, we need a 0.5 cent sales tax to build a new whatever. It's like, that's never going away. That thing will get built, and that tax will stay, and then something else will pile on it. We will forget what that was for.
I agree.
That's just how it works.
Last question for you before we get out and let you enjoy Montana. Advice for young authors. Or actually, how about just advice for authors in general?
Authors in general, yeah.
You were first published at 42, so you don't have to be young.
Anyone who hasn't been published. I mean, I would say, like I said, do it because you love it. And the one thing that the biggest mistake I see from most people is people just don't really finish something. Now you can get self-published. And so you're the arbiter of whether or not your book will do well in the market. And I think that means there's a level of care in general. Now, some of the best books have been self-published. The Martian, I think, was self-published.
Really?
all these incredible books have been self-published.
They made a movie about.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy Weir. Yeah. There's lots of examples of that not being the case, but people write the easy parts and then they kind of polish it up enough, and then they can get it out into the world now. I didn't have that luxury. I came around a couple years before self-publishing became very, very easy. And so I really think finishing something, getting it as good as you can get it, and then telling yourself it's not that good. You know, write your first draft like you can do no wrong, edit it like you can do no right, and really second guess and just double check and triple check and quadruple check. And, you know, I've taught little writing classes at writers conferences, and I go, everything is important. And that's why I'm going to take every one of your 5 pages that everybody will give me 5 pages, and I'm going to just Christmas tree it. I'm going to tell you exactly, like, this line should have its own line. It shouldn't be part of this paragraph. You know, it's more powerful that way. It's just like looking at everything, you know, as it's equally important and crucial to getting published. And so I think people just get ideas down, and they have their darlings. They have their little parts that go, well, this is good and this is great. So I'm going to put that in there. But the whole work itself isn't as polished as it needs to be. And then you can go to all that work and it still not get published and still not get successful. And then you just have to do it again and do it again. It's like my 4th manuscript was the first one that got published, and it took me 20 years, but I'm glad that I didn't get published at 19 years because it would not have, you know, taken off. So, you know, it's just, you just have to do it because you love it, and you just have to finish what you start. That would be my advice.
People can get it anywhere?
I hope so. You should be. Should be able to.
Is there a portal that supports you better though? Like, because again, for numbers, and I'm talking about this now with publishers, it's like, yeah, there's Barnes and Noble and there's Amazon, and those are the 2 biggest accounts.
Yeah, but
because not all the numbers count.
Yeah,
it's like, again, this obfuscated
I mean, I love when people go to independent bookstores.
They say that a lot though too. Yeah,
I'm doing, because I love independent bookstores, I'm doing a book tour, 8-city tour. You know, and you can, any one of those places, you could go to my website, markgraineybooks.com, see where I'm going to be signing. They will mail you a book that I've signed and personalized to you if you buy it. So you buy it anywhere, it's the same for me, and I'm just happy that you read it. You can check it out from the library. I love that.
Perfect. Last thing for you, I got a gift for you. Obviously, I'm sure knives have played heavily in your
They have.
Novels. Montana Knife Company.
Oh, wow.
You're never going to guess where this is from.
Upper Volta.
It is from Montana.
Oh, wow.
Just down the road of Missoula.
Yeah, Missoula, okay.
This is one of their tactical knives, though. And I was thinking, are you checked luggage, or did you go carry on home?
I'm checked now.
I was going to say, we could mail it to you. Michael will be responsible
I'll
for
check
that.
it. Yeah, that's terrific.
Check this bad boy out. This is in their tactical series. They're doing a good push in February on their
I've been making an
tactical
ass out of
series.
myself trying to open it. Is it a slide? Is it a pop?
Let me see. There you go. Yeah. And then it's going to be, they actually package it quite well.
This is nice. It's like a fillet.
I actually think this is the knife I have as my, nope, I have a different one, but this one's spectacular too.
Oh man, that is nice.
Yeah. So etched with the podcast logo on it, small.
Very cool.
The Kydex sheath has got great flexibility. You can kind of mount it in a variety of different ways. It gives you a lot of options on how you want to have it on there.
This is fabulous.
Those blades are spectacular,
Yeah.
lifelong.
That's a great hilt tip for the size of that knife. That's great.
Great warranty on those things, lifelong sharpening, all that stuff. Yeah, just push with that thumb and pop that sucker right out.
That's fantastic.
So that's their, I think it's the mini war goat. I think it was.
Slice my finger off.
Yeah, don't do that. That's the battle goat, OD green. It's probably up on the wall here somewhere. I don't know. One of those knives.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm checking my luggage now.
I was going to say, because if we trust Michael to mail it to you,
this is good.
60-30 odds.
Yeah.
And I know that doesn't add up to 100%.
Now I can throw in some huckleberry into my chuckle. But you said it's out of season.
Can you get huckleberries in the wintertime here?
And,
I feel like it'd be the fake huckleberry. It's going to be the right color, but the number one ingredient is going to be sugar, not huckleberries.
I've learned more about huckleberries today than I've ever known. This is fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Of course, my pleasure. Well, thank you for making the trip out.
Oh, my God, I enjoyed it.
Feb 17th. And yeah, we've been at it for like 2.5 hours. Let's get you out of here and you can go enjoy Montana.
Awesome.
So that's it. Thank you, man.
You bet.